Chapter 1287. Clearly See the Crisis. Chapter 1287. Clearly See the Crisis. A beautiful woman was hung upside down on a branch of an ancient tree that was 100 meters tall. The transparent dragons that bound her disappeared after a long time. Thud! Xingyin fell on the ground and rolled. She felt so much pain, her beautiful face filled with rage. Even when she was a child, she had never experienced such humiliation. She had ignored her pride and dignity to jump onto his lap. Not only was she rejected, but she was also thrown away. It was the biggest humiliation in her whole life. Although she had third sky of ethereal god realm cultivation base, she couldn't urge a bit of her energy to strike back the dragons. It made her both outraged and fearful. After waiting until the dragons vanished, she could finally move. Looking at the palace far away, she gritted her teeth and flew back there. Shortly after, she came to the door and attempted to ask for an explanation from Shuryen. However, when she looked up, she became baffled. On a prominent stone tower of the palace, Shuryen's incipient extent emerged like a brilliant galaxy with a diamond-like, twinkling stars. Ouyang Luo Shuang was like a moonlight beam moving on the moon inside his incipient extent. Shuryen closed his eyes. His face looked like he was immersed in his world and comprehending his realm. After a glance, she was shaken, but her eyes were so malignant. She had a good understanding of the mysterious magic of the incipient extent and the realm. She knew clearly that when Shuryen opened his incipient extent for Ouyang Luo Shuang, they shouldn't be disturbed. If she seized the chance and took revenge now. Xingyin squinted and considered. She couldn't make up her mind yet. Apparently, Shuryen didn't put her in his eyes. He wasn't interested in her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been that harsh. He would have given her a chance to approach him. She was humiliated when they first met personally. With her natural characteristics, she would take revenge. However, the other was the bloodthirsty force's master. What if? Xingyin didn't dare to act rashly. You'd better leave. However, at this moment, Guling appeared quietly like a forest spirit and looked at her. Xingyin's bold brows arched. She threw a glance at Guling mockingly. So, you're interested in him too? Guling's small face became so cold as she sneered. You think everybody will be like you? Like a fly attracted to meat when you see a man? You want to bite him or taste him, right? Guling and Cecilia were good friends, and she didn't like Xingyin. When she talked to her, she didn't want to be polite. You know what I want to do. Xingyin changed her visage, her eyes sinister. No matter what you want to do to Shuryen, I advise you to forget that idea. He's not someone you can offend. Don't bring trouble to your father, your broken hull, or our three forces. Otherwise, no one can protect you. Gulian snorted. You should leave before he wakes up. If he knows you got such ideas, he won't just throw you away like a stray dog. I'm afraid you will become a dead dog. Although Gulian wasn't old, when she talked harshly, she could make people's scalps numb. Xingyin's beautiful face became ugly. She knew this place was the Thousand Fantasy Sects territory, and Gulian was Ling Xiang's adopted daughter. She couldn't offend Liang Xiang. Pondering for a while, Xingyin threw Guling a malignant look, then left. After Xingyin had left, Gulian looked up to watch Shuryen. Her bright eyes became surprised. She saw Shuryen open his incipient extent for Ouyang Luo Shuang, and the two of them were bizarrely comprehending their power Upanishads. Shuryen's incipient extent looked like a beautiful and vast galaxy. It caught her eyes. She had seen many incipient extents of incipient God realm experts, but she had never seen a spectacular incipient extent like this one. She suddenly felt small when she lifted up her face and beheld the sky. It seemed that incipient extent had swallowed the entire sea of stars. This incipient extent is really marvelous. If she got a chance to learn her power Upanishad's mysteries in there, She must have a big harvest. I wonder if Cecilia has had the good opportunity to cultivate in his incipient extent. This man is too flirty. He loves every beauty he's met. Despicable. Gullion muttered at first, but later on, her small face became colder as she shouted at the end. Dash. A remote area on the Fantasy Star. There were some green bamboo cottages covered in the thick white mist. This kind of white mist was so strange that it could prevent all kinds of soul energy, soul consciousness, and even noises from intruding the place. Inside a bamboo cottage, Lena of the Heaven River Temple frowned. Floating in front of her was a big drop of water that was showing the scene of Shuryen and Ouyang Luo Shuang, comprehending power Upanishads together. Cecilia looked dispirited. She sat quietly in the room and watched the drop of water. She bit her lower lip and said nothing. He took a ride on Tsunomic Chamber of Commerce's ships. Then he got into a dispute with warriors from the Broken Hall because of that girl. He said that she was his woman. Caesar had to apologize. We thought that he didn't have any relationship with this girl, and he said that just to save her, but... Lena looked at Cecilia. She found that Cecilia looked painful and bitter. She sighed and then continued. But it seems like they do have something. Otherwise, she wouldn't enter his incipient extent like that without any caution. Also, he has opened his incipient extent so she could learn the marvel in there. I don't believe that they don't have any relationship. Cecilia kept her head low and didn't answer her. He doesn't deserve it. I think so. I've heard about him. This guy is a womanizer. He has never lacked women on his side wherever he goes. You're just a passenger in his life. To him, you're no different from the other women. And if you consider him a place to shelter your body and soul, you will be living in pain for the rest of your life, Lena comforted her. Cecilia thinned her lips and contemplated. After a long time, she lifted her head, her beautiful eyes showing her begrudging suffering. When I first met him, I've known who he is already. However, I've never met anyone more outstanding than him. He has touched my heart. If I let him go, I will regret it. If I hold on to him, I will sink into sorrow. But when the latter happens, I've experienced something that I can recall later. If I choose the former, I can save myself from pain, but I will miss a piece of my life. Teacher, what do you advise me? Lena was surprised as she looked at Cecilia. After a moment, she shook her head and sighed. Seems like I should keep you here for a while more. Teacher, why do the masters have to do that? Cecilia was skeptical. After 100,000 years, the 4 great clans have taken turns to control the entire cosmos. They've risen and defeated. They've kept stirring up the universe. There are many forces and races, and even galaxies have disappeared forever because of them. These 4 big forces are the fountainhead of evil in this world. Lena looked at her and said reluctantly, unfortunately, they're too powerful. In their battles, the other forces always play the supporting roles. They have to share the burden with them without any other option. We were willing to let them act like that until now. We and the other forces that aren't the 4 great creatures want to make them content to their lot. We will save and keep the peace of this universe. Well, to be frank, the 1,000 Fantasy Sect, the Broken Hall, and our Heaven River Temple have accumulated for so many years. And now, we think that we got the power to control the world. We want to try once, right? Cecilia hit the nail on the head. Lena was surprised. She smiled. Yeah, it will develop like that. What do they want to do? Asked Cecilia. Hand back Bloodthirsty's remains to Shuryen and agree to form the alliance with them. After he's left the Fantasy Star, they will spread this information. The God Clan will then send the experts to kill him. The Bloodthirsty Force will also know this. They will send people to protect him. Then, after they leave the 1,000 Fantasy Star area, the war will take place officially. It will be a deadly one for both sides, said Lena. I got it. Shuryen is the pawn to ignite the flame of war. We will stimulate them and make them fight before they've prepared carefully. Then we will watch and choose the side to support, said Cecilia. My excellent student, your thoughts are clear. Yeah, you're not wrong. Lena complimented her student. Inside Shuriyan's incipient extent, time and space seemed to cease to move. He controlled everything. If he wanted time to slow down, it slowed down. Ouyang Luo Shuang stayed in his incipient extent. She moved around the moons in there and seemed to not want to come back. She was trying to comprehend the essence of the God clan's precursors, power Upanishads. She didn't care about the time passing by. Shuriyan sank into his incipient extent and searched between the space and star powers Upanishads. After an unknown time, he woke up. He pulled himself together, frowning and sensing. In his incipient extent, a massive starlight hand grabbed Ouyang Luo Shuang by her waist and pulled her out of a lake. She was put back to the real world. Shuriyan looked at Ouyang Luo Shuang, his eyes complicated. After he had analyzed Ouyang Luo Shuang's power Upanishads and incipient extent, he came to a conclusion. Ouyang Luo Shuang's teacher must be a God clan's expert. He could never look down on some experts who had mastered the power Upanishad of the God clan's ancestors and imparted it to Ouyang Luo Shuang at first sky of incipient God realm. Ouyang Luo Shuang had mentioned that this man was heading to Fantasy Star to do something. Sure, Yen had a bad premonition. Vaguely, he felt a big crisis coming soon. He looked at Ouyang Luo Shuang and pondered. Suddenly he said, "In the coming time, if the situation doesn't turn right, I will have to do something that will make you hate me. I want to warn you in advance. Don't worry, I won't hurt you, but I have to tell you in advance." Since his words were vague, Ouyang Luo Shuang couldn't understand it. "What do you mean?" "I mean, perhaps I need to use you to achieve my goal." Shuriyan's eyes were strange. "Use me? What value do I have that you can use?" Her clear eyes were confused. She didn't know her teacher's identity. She just knew that he was very intimidating. As she couldn't relate Shuriyan and her teacher, of course, she couldn't guess what Shuriyan had in his mind. "Well, you just need to know that. When the time comes, you will understand what I meant today." Chapter 1288, Carefree. Chapter 1288, Carefree _ The islet in the middle of the fantasy lake. Ling Xiang, Caesar, and Lorraine were discussing how to talk to Shuriyan tomorrow. They considered whether they should give him some challenge before giving him the bloodthirsty remains or not. If they just gave them to him, would that be too direct? His realm is a little low. If we give him a challenge, I'm afraid he can't handle it. Even though we have to give him these things, we must do it like we care about it. It's troublesome, though. Lorraine forced a smile. Yeah, it's just first sky of incipient God realm. It isn't worth mentioning. If he wasn't the new master, he wouldn't be respected. But if we give the remains to him easily, will he doubt us or not? Asked Ling Xiang. Don't look at me. You guys are the masters in this sort of stuff. I don't know how to act in such a conspiracy. Caesar waved his hands. Ling Xiang and Lorraine went stiff when they heard Caesar. They looked a little embarrassed. All of a sudden, Ling Xiang changed his countenance. An ancient book flew out of his sleeve. He touched the void and the blood flipped its pages. A magical energy emerged from the page like white light rings outside the planet. It seemed like he could use this book to check the changes that happened outside his fantasy star. At the same time, a soul message came from the book to Ling Xiang's sea of consciousness. Caesar and Lorraine kept silent. They frowned, watching Ling Xiang and waiting. They knew that the ancient book was a strange treasure in Ling Xiang's hands that was called the Book of Thousand Fantasy and Myriad Change. This book could connect to the marvelous fantasy zone and create illusions there. They all looked at Ling Xiang as they wanted to know what was going on. Ling Xiang had ordered his subordinates not to disturb them when they began to discuss unless it was something really important. As they were still discussing these matters, If someone contacted Ling Xiang now, it meant that the news wasn't small. Indeed, Ling Xiang put away the book of Thousand Fantasy and Myriad Change into his sleeve. His face slightly paled. There is a tornado of meteorite pieces that appeared out of nowhere in the fantasy zone. Billions of these pieces have attacked the fantasy zone like sharp sword. The white light rings outside the planet have stopped them, but they have already hurt and killed many fantasy animals and my troopers. Who has the guts to do that? Lorraine's face was grave. This place was the headquarters star of the Thousand Fantasy Sect, and the Thousand Fantasy Sect was the prominent force in this universe that not many forces dared to provoke. Besides those lunatics of the four great creatures, I think no blind warrior dares to act wantonly in my fantasy zone. Ling Xiang's handsome face turned cold and dark. They reported that they saw a lazy man riding the moon nucleus and approaching our fantasy star. What does he look like? Lorraine was startled. She thought that she knew something. They said that he looks lazy. Along the way, he still drank wine and ate fruits casually. He doesn't mind our guards much, Ling Xiang said coldly. Lazy. 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 Lorraine was shocked as a light flashed in her head. She hissed in fright. Carefree. It's Carefree. Hearing her, Ling Xiang and Caesar were startled. It's him. The girl's teacher is Carefree. I should have guessed it earlier, shouted Lorraine. As Ling Xiang and Caesar heard about the name Carefree, their countenances became very serious. Thoughts rolled into their brains, relating the name to the familiar feeling they had earlier. They knew Lorraine was correct. Carefree was coming. Carefree was one of the four great heavenly kings of the God clan and a supernatural character of the previous generation. This man had disappeared for thousands of years. It had been so long that Caesar, Ling Xiang, and Lorraine couldn't figure it out earlier. When Carefree was famous and intimidating, Ling Xiang, Caesar, and Lorraine were still juniors, an incipient god realm who still needed to follow their teachers. They knew Carefree's deeds well. Thus, they all discolored when they knew that it was Carefree who was approaching. Rumble, rumble. The fantasy star suddenly shook hard as if a massive beast was barging at it. The ground of the fantasy star shook hard. Many mountains collapsed and rivers surged. The quiet fantasy star for countless years seemed to about to receive its doomsday. All the warriors of the Thousand Fantasy Sect were frightened. Where is the Thousand Fantasy Sect's master? Open the gate. Do you want me to break your door? A voice came from deep inside the clouds above the fantasy star that then reverberated in every corner of the planet and shook the minds of every warrior. As soon as that voice arose, it was like the heavenly prestige pressing on the sky of the fantasy star and suffocating people. Here he comes. Caesar hissed. He can break it, really. Let him in. Lorraine forced a smile. Ling Xiang nodded and then took out the heavenly fragrant soul, soothing jade box. After giving it to Lorraine, Ling Xiang said, You should hurry and find Shi Yan. Give the box to him and ask him to leave immediately. Caesar also gave his box to Lorraine. Tell that kid to flee quickly. If he dies here, we will all be in trouble. Lorraine didn't say anything. She grabbed the boxes and disappeared instantly. At the same time, the terrible shock came from the sky as the voice arose again. It's not easy for the Thousand Fantasy Sect to refine layers of barriers and restrictions. What a pity if this protection gets damaged. I will count to 3. People down there, you should consider carefully. 1. Ling Xiang sighed and then spoke up. Welcome, precursor, Carefree. I'm the current master of the Thousand Fantasy Sect, Ling Xiang. Welcome to our headquarters. His finger fiddled with the book of Thousand Fantasy and Myriad Change to lift up the barrier so Carefree could enter the planet. A tender, handsome man rode the moon essence and crossed the sky to come. He landed directly to the center land of the fantasy star. Many warriors on the fantasy star gathered as they saw him. The fantasy lake where Ling Xiang and Caesar were standing changed suddenly. The thick forest and grand palaces replaced the lake, the cottages, and the mountain ranges. Banyu, Xingming, Xingshang, Wei Yin, and Gulian appeared from the palaces around and looked at the man in fear. Many of them didn't know him, but they were still scared. The imposing aura of the man descended from the sky had completely subdued them and made them want to bow to him. Who attacked my student at the chaotic area out there? After a deafening explosion, the moon underneath Carefree's feet had destroyed some palaces. He landed and lazily raked his eyes around. He saw Xingshang and grinned. Xingshang felt like his soul had left him already. "Come here!" Carefree waved his hand. Xingshang and Wei Yin were lifted in the same way a person pinched a chicken's neck and lifted it up. They fell in front of Carefree. Carefree opened his mouth and spurred out 2 beams of moonlight that then intruded Xingshang's and Wei Yin's brains through their eyes. The moonlight then moved around their sea of consciousness to collect their memories. As the others were watching them, Xingshang and Wei Yin were so frightened. Dark blood oozed out of their eyes, ears, nostrils, and mouth. The light in their eyes dimmed out. Their skies dried up as if it was dry tree bark. They lost their vitality quickly. Everybody felt their hair rising as they were so panic-stricken. They knew Carefree had used a memory extraction technique to take their memories directly that had destroyed their lives and souls to get the part of memory he needed. Xingming felt so chilled. At this moment, he thought he was frozen by a cold power. He couldn't help but shiver. His eyes were filled with a dark fear. He looked at Caesar, gritting his teeth and begging, "Master, please consider that I've served both you and your father. Please spare my life." After he finished, Xingshang's and Wei Yun's life energy were all gone. Carefree had collected what he wanted. Carefree smiled darkly and looked at him. "Turns out you're the ringleader." "Master!" Xingming screamed, kneeled down, and pounded his head on the ground, begging Caesar. His head bled terribly. Xing Ying stood next to him. She was bewildered for a while and then kneeled down, crying and pounding her head against the floor. She didn't mind her bleeding face or the pain and continued to beg to Caesar, "Please, Hall Master, please save my father." At this moment, they knew that only if Caesar helped him, Xingming could survive. Since this man could kill Xingshang and Wei Yin easily, and the others couldn't even wiggle a bit, they knew that he was at the immortal realm. This sort of character could effortlessly kill them with only a wave of his hand. Caesar, the warrior obsessed with martial arts, had a dark and calm face like the water. He looked at Xingming and Xing who were pounding their heads on the floor to beg him, talking all of a sudden. "Precursor, Carefree, 2 warriors of our broken hall were killed. Please let it go. Let it go." Carefree was surprised. He eyed Caesar and asked, "You're Simon's son, right?" "Haha. Your father had to call me senior. Your broken hall's warriors dared to kidnap my student. Well, it's simple to let it go. When all the ones involved in this kidnapping case are dead, I will let it go." He rose one hand to grab Xingming and squinted, his face dark and sinister. "No." Xingming shouted ear-splittingly, "My father gave you face, but it doesn't mean that I will do the same." Caesar suddenly screamed. His hempen clothes floated with powerful lightning strikes. He stepped toward Carefree and raised his fist. His punch was rough and simple. Boom! Boom! The space next to Carefree exploded continuously. The billions of lightning bolts moved together as if they wanted to create billions of holes in this world. Caesar cultivated lightning power Upanishad. Usually warriors with the lightning power Upanishad could cultivate the electricity power Upanishad at the same time. It made them stronger. Simon, Caesar's father, cultivated both power Upanishad. However, Caesar didn't use that method. He had cultivated only lightning power Upanishad. In 10,000 years, he was immersed in the world of only lightning, offering it everything beautiful in his life. He didn't like women. He had ignored the matters of the broken hall. He didn't enjoy life. Just like an ascetical monk, he had dedicated his life to find the path of his cultivation and the lightning power Upanishad. He had not been lazy for even a day. This punch of his had the passion of his lifelong pursuit of lightning power. His attack had torn the sky and stimulated the 8 poles of the world. The lightning strikes shook the sky and reverberated like Caesar's angry roar. His roar was formidable and overbearing with the loneliness accumulated for 10,000 years. Carefree, the expert of the previous generation, had a grave face standing in billions of lightning strikes. His eyes emitted magical lights. Carefree's eyes squinted and created crescent moons. The 3 illusions of the moon above the fantasy star's sky spun and became real, moving around Carefree. They shattered and exploded continuously as if they were about to destroy this entire world. Caesar stopped after that punch. However, there are countless punches in the void between him and Carefree. The punches were like thunder in the sky that created a world of pure lightning. Chapter 1289, Unyielding. Chapter 1289, Unyielding _ Caesar didn't move for even a bit, but his punches had filled the void by Carefree and created an endless magical world. You're much better than your father. You're closer to second sky of a mortal realm than the other 2. You've comprehended the ultimate essence of lightning, but it's unfortunate that your soul can't transform yet. Carefree looked at Caesar and complimented, but it's not enough to stop me. Anyway, I'm at a higher realm. I had to spend 7,000 years to break through to this realm. Thus, you can only watch me kill him. Carefree looked at Xingming and smiled. A crescent moon arose on Xingming's chest. It then stabbed his heart, broke his body, and shot toward Xingming's soul altar. The moon shattered his soul altar immediately. Carefree touched his head. A bright, full moon arose. This bright moon was so pure and was created by billions of the god power's beams. The bright moon changed and magically erased Caesar's punches in the air. When Carefree was attacking Caesar, he killed Xingming. Unless Caesar troubled him and distracted his mind, Caesar couldn't prevent him from killing Xingming. Apparently, Caesar wasn't strong enough to keep Carefree's full attention. That was why Xingming was dead now. Xingming's face was bleeding. She stopped pounding her head against the floor. She was ashen as she looked at her father, who was a corpse now. Her face was dark and glum, as if her soul had left her. Caesar! Lorraine hissed all of a sudden. Caesar wore a brave face. He had prepared to take risks. He looked as if he was struggling in his mind. Caesar! Hissed Lorraine once more time. Caesar's tense, nerves relaxed. The expressions in his eyes changed for a while before he resumed his normal visage. Carefree looked like he appreciated Caesar a lot. His dark eyes became tender. He spoke up all of a sudden. I'm here to discuss with the 1,000 Fantasy Sect, Broken Hall, and Heaven River Temple. We want to exchange an entire star area for each piece of Bloodthirsty's remains. We can carry it out immediately. Ling Xiang had guessed his purpose earlier. Hearing him, he replied with a forced smile. We gave the remains to the new master of the Bloodthirsty Force. We got a good deal already. Carefree squinted. He immediately recognized that Lorraine wasn't here. The moonlight swirled in his eyes. After a while, he grinned. Well, your fantasy star is really extraordinary. Even I was misled. He moved, and his figure faded. Caesar and Ling Xiang exchanged looks. They were so frightened. They left and headed to Shurian. Gulian, Banyu, and the others hurried to move to the palace that the 1,000 Fantasy Sect had lodged the distinguished guests. On the other side, Carefree is here. You take the 3 boxes and leave the Fantasy Star now. They contain Bloodthirsty's remains. I have discussed with Caesar and Ling Xiang. Once you guys and the God Clan start the war, our 3 forces will support you. Lorraine appeared out of nowhere and gave him the 3 heavenly fragrant soul, soothing jade boxes. She urged him to leave immediately. Carefree? Heavenly King Carefree of the God Clan? Shi Yan asked calmly. Hurry up. I'm afraid the illusions of the fantasy star can't hold him for long. You cultivate space power Upanishad, right? You better tear the void and leave now. Return to your ancient continent, Lorraine urged him. Sure, Yen lifted his head to look at the sky. His face grimaced. With the connection between Shi Yan and Grace Mainland, he could return to the land with the last beam of his energy while he was in the chaotic space basin. However, he tried and found the space was so heavy as if countless mountain ranges were pressing on it. He couldn't even move. He immediately realized that it was too late. Carefree had noticed him. Carefree is here. I can't leave. Shi Yan looked at Lorraine and frowned. Abruptly, he turned away and grabbed Ouyang Luoshuang. He placed one hand on her back and urged his power. He whispered into her ear, I'm so sorry. Ouyang Luoshuang was shocked because of what Lorraine had said. She knew that her teacher was called Carefree, and the one Shi Yan and Lorraine had mentioned was the Heavenly King Carefree, the peak existence of the God Clan. She needed time to arrange her thoughts. As she wasn't cautious, Shi Yan grabbed her. When she recognized the situation, it was too late to wiggle. Shi Yan had controlled her body in just a blink of an eye. Ouyang Luoshuang felt chilled and she snarled, What are you doing? I've told you before that I have to use you sometimes. And now it's the moment. Shi Yan forced a smile and apologized. A strange light shot out from his eyes as he pulled the 3 boxes Lorraine had given him and threw them into the space inside his incipient extent. Then his face became dark and cold. The murderous aura twirled around him brutally. Sorry, he said. Then, Carefree came from the sky and landed in front of him. Teacher! Ouyang Luoshuang screamed, her eyes regaining consciousness. Carefree squinted and looked at her and then at Shi Yan. You're the bloodthirsty successor. Shi Yan nodded. Only at first sky of incipient god realm. Too low. I can kill you easily. Yeah. Hand me bloodthirsty's remains and release my disciple. I will let you go. I'm a man of his word, Carefree said indifferently. I want to leave and I want to bring bloodthirsty's remains with me. Tell me what I should do. Shi Yan replied coldly. It means you will die. Carefree shook his head. Ling Xiang and Caesar arrived. Gulian and Ban Yu stopped far from them and watched with complicated eyes. They hadn't thought that they would see such a situation when they came. They were dumbfounded. Before Carefree had arrived, Shi Yan had said that Ouyang Luoshuang was his woman. He had forced Caesar to admit his mistake and forced Xingshang to chop off his arm. But now he was keeping Ouyang Luoshuang as his hostage to bargain with Carefree. How heartless was this man to be able to switch his face like that? At the critical time, he could use his woman to cushion his back. How despicable and vicious was this man? Many people disdained him. They thought that they had wronged him. He failed the others so badly. Only Caesar, Ling Xiang, Lorraine, and Gulian nodded discreetly. They knew that what Shi Yan was doing was the only way that gave him a chance to talk to Carefree. They highly appreciated Shi Yan's evil and agile wisdom. They thought that only this kind of character could compete against the God Clan. I got 2 souls. You know this, right? If you kill this soul of mine, I can still exist. But I know your student can't do that. Yeah, I don't know how much you favor your student. Perhaps you don't mind her being dead or alive. Shi Yan looked at Carefree and spoke. If so, I can only blame my bad luck. I know what had happened from Xingshang's and Wei Yun's souls. Although you aren't my disciple's lover, you guys are friends. Otherwise, you wouldn't rescue her. Since you've saved her, just give me bloodthirsty's remains. You can leave then. Is this clear? Carefree squinted. I want to take the remains with me. Shi Yan was persistent. I believe that you won't hurt your friends. Your threat is just a funny joke in my eyes. Carefree sounded nonchalant. Oh, really? Shi Yan's eyes were cold. A bone thorn appeared in his hand. With a swift move of his wrist, the bone thorn directly thrust into Ouyang Luo Shuang's abdomen. Ouyang Luo Shuang went numb. Her bright eyes filled with fear. She had never thought that Shi Yan would attack her. Feeling the agony in her tummy, she gritted her teeth in resentment. She thought that once she escaped, she would make Shi Yan lose his face. Now, she understood the strange words he had told her. She knew what use Shi Yan had mentioned. Although Shi Yan had promised that he wouldn't kill her, this wound on her body was real. She hated Shi Yan for his bold and cruel deeds. He attacked her. Shi Yan could feel Ouyang Luo Shuang's body so stiff. As their bodies were so close to each other, Shi Yan could feel her resentment and even her soul movement. Perhaps it was related to Ouyang Luo Shuang's activity in his incipient extent. It seemed like the subtle connection between them hadn't been cut off yet. But he had no choice. He knew Ouyang Luo Shuang would trouble him later. But he had to be persistent now. Space here was locked. Carefree was at second sky of a mortal realm. Thus, Ouyang Luo Shuang was his only escape. She was the last trick he had to protect himself. He was lucky that he could guess Ouyang Luo Shuang's teacher was some powerful character of the God clan. Ban Yu, Gulian, Guling, and the others were aghast. They were dumbstruck looking at the bleeding wound in Ouyang Luo Shuang's abdomen. They didn't expect that Shi Yan dared to attack her. Carefree hadn't thought that he dared to that, either. When Ouyang Luo Shuang was stabbed, he became hesitant. He had anticipated that Shi Yan wouldn't attack her, and what he had done was all he could do. He wasn't going to make it more terrible. However, it was just his prediction from what he got from Xing Shang's and Wei Yan's memories. He wasn't so sure or able to confirm anything. It was because he didn't know Shi Yan. He didn't know how this successor of Bloodthirsty was. At the same time, Ouyang Luo Shuang was the only warrior whose cultivation path was much appropriate in the past 10,000 years. That's why he decided to impart Ouyang Luo Shuang the marvelous power Upanishad, even though she wasn't a member of the God clan. He considered Ouyang Luo Shuang his only official disciple and nurtured her. He had refined a moon for Ouyang Luo Shuang to cultivate. It spoke of the fact that he really favored and appreciated this disciple he had when he was already old. He didn't want to lose this disciple. Thus, he didn't dare to bet. After I can confirm that I'm safe, I'll let her go. Shi Yan saw Carefree hesitating. He then grabbed Ouyang Luo Shuang and flew up into the sky. He didn't wait for Carefree to answer. Shi Yan controlled space power, but he couldn't tear the void to escape instantly. However, it wasn't a problem to fly now. He planned to leave this area and find the area Carefree hadn't locked to open the space passage there to return to Grace Mainland. As long as Shi Yan could return to Grace Mainland, even if Carefree came there in his world, he had the guts to fight with that expert once. He used to fight with Azure Dragon on Grace Mainland. He knew that even if he couldn't resist, he could still leave easily. Seeing Shi Yan holding Ouyang Luo Shuang and flying away from the Fantasy Star, Carefree was outraged, but he was trying to press it down. His face was sinister. He didn't linger on the Fantasy Star anymore. He immediately flew up and chased after Shi Yan. He planned to lock more space and observe Shi Yan. Once he could confirm that Shi Yan didn't want to kill Ouyang Luo Shuang, he was going to storm over to trouble him. Chapter 1290 Life Sublimation. Chapter 1290 Life Sublimation _ After Shi Yan and Carefree had left, the Fantasy Star resumed its peace and quiet. However, Ling Xiang, Caesar, and Lorraine still grimaced. Carefree had come suddenly and broken their plan. They couldn't help but give Shi Yan bloodthirsty's remains. They didn't even have time to discuss the details of their alliance. Everything was rushed. Ling Xiang, Caesar, and Lorraine were at first sky of a mortal realm. After they had reached this realm, they had developed a wild scheme to conquer the world. However, today, when Carefree gave them a sudden visit, he was like thunder that had struck their minds. Carefree has reached second sky of a mortal realm. I suppose the other 3 heavenly kings are at this realm too. In addition to the God Lord, we have to be very cautious, Lorraine sighed. I didn't expect him to come. However, it turns out that it isn't bad. Although it's a little different from what we've expected, it's not bad at all, Ling Xiang pondered and then said, we must spread the news. Tell Tsunami Chamber of Commerce. If Shi Yan encounters bad things in our 1000 Fantasy Star area, we can explain clearly to the others. This kid is evil. He can turn his back to her directly and use her to bargain. He's heartless, indeed, Caesar praised Shi Yan. I think he won't die that easily, Lorraine nodded. We shouldn't be the vanguard in the war with the God clan. They're so formidable, said Ling Xiang. Caesar and Lorraine nodded in agreement. Carefree coming here today made them realize that it wasn't exaggerated that the God clan could be the overlord of this cosmos for 10,000 years. By the edge of the Fantasy Star, Shi Yan held Ouyang Luoshuang and flew quickly like a beam of starlight. His face was stern, his eyes bright with brilliant lights. He continually checked the surroundings and didn't dare to relax for even a second. Because of the pressure that had chased after him as if it was his shadow, he knew that Carefree was still following Shi Yan, although Shi Yan didn't see Carefree. He was somewhere around for sure. He had escaped the Fantasy Star, but the space around was still locked. He couldn't find a slit to return to Grace mainland. The layers of space were tight, as if there was a massive hand squeezing them all together. Unless that hand loosened its grip, Shi Yan couldn't move through spaces. That heavy pressure came like a rising tide that troubled him while he was flying through the fantasy zone. He had to consume his god power every second and every minute. It wasn't a normal trip. Because of Carefree's pressure, he had to spend a lot more energy than usual. Engaging in a battle with an expert at this level, Shi Yan finally felt helpless. It was because of the difference between their realms, his space, star, and death and life power Upanishads. His abilities were ineffective. They couldn't bring expected results. If he didn't hold Ouyang Luoshuang, Carefree was going to kill him for sure. Finally, he recognized a begrudging fact. His realm was too low compared to the formidable experts who had survived for more than 10,000 years. He could clearly feel that his current, incipient god realm cultivation base wasn't enough to deal with the future commotions. He had to break through faster to a whole new world. It would be best that he could enter the immortal realm. Shi Yan knew that the gap between the immortal realm and incipient god realm was like the distance between the sky and the deep abyss. The power and capacity of the immortal realm experts weren't something that peak of incipient god realm and the false immortal realm experts could compare to. Where are you taking me? Ouyang Luoshuang's wound had stopped bleeding. Although her body was confined, she could still speak. How long do you plan to keep me as your hostage? Shi Yan's face was cold as he shouted at her. Shut up! Then the starlight emitted from his palm like a river and flowed into Ouyang Luoshuang's body to restrict her ability to talk. Afterward, he checked his surroundings carefully as he knew that a pair of dark eyes was still watching him from a secret place nearby. Shi Yan knew that Carefree was right behind him and observing his moves. If he relaxed his nerves for even a moment, trouble would snatch over him immediately. If Carefree could confirm that Shi Yan wouldn't kill Ouyang Luoshuang from her words, Shi Yan would be tragically and instantly killed. Thus, he had to shut Ouyang Luoshuang's mouth. Since he had come to this world, he had never struggled like this. The feeling of having someone determine his life had choked him and irritated him. Because of Carefree's pressure, he had to consume a lot of energy to move through the fantasy zone. After each distance, his god power reduced massively. He had to stay alert all the time. He had to pose that he could kill Ouyang Luoshuang in any minute, which would scare Carefree and keep him from acting rashly. It was some sort of torment indeed. Actually, not far from Shuryen, Carefree was sitting on the moon nucleus, like a patient hunter watching his prey. He released his energy unceasingly to affect the space that prevented Shuryen from tearing a space slit to escape to Grace mainland. As long as Shuryen didn't get out of his sight, he could find the chance. Once Shuryen relaxed, he could seize the chance to rescue his student and kill Shuryen. He was waiting for an opportunity and competing with Shuryen to see who was more patient. He was confident that he would be the winner. Carefree was the domineering expert in Bloodthirsty's era, and he was a peerless existence in the world at that time. As he had lived for more than 10,000 years, he had experienced many things. He had immersed in the mediating condition for countless years to train his mind and power Upanishad. His state of mind had been trained to become flawless. Carefree thought that Shuryen was still very young, so it would be a funny joke when he dared to struggle against him. Carefree had discreetly released his power to trouble Shuryen more when he was flying. It was going to wear out Shuryen's god power and mental power. He sneered and waited for Shuryen to use up his energy. When Shuryen's spirit broke, he could strike him only one time to kill him. Shuryen was also waiting. He felt so reluctant. He knew what idea Carefree had in his head, but he couldn't do anything to counter it. Shuryen got an idea. He believed that Caesar's team had notified Xian He, Frederick, and Ming How about Carefree. He believed that Xian He, Frederick, and Ming How wouldn't let him die, because today he was the new master of the Bloodthirsty Force and the new flag of the Bloodthirsty Force. Moreover, he was wearing the Blood Vein Ring. He had to get out of this place. He knew that Carefree was trying to drain him and was waiting for him to be exhausted. He could only try his best. He also needed time. Xian, he and Frederick needed time to get to him. He believed that if he could seize more time, it would be a chance for him to overturn the situation. He strongly believed in this. Shuryen continued to use his god power and kept moving forward through the fantasy zone. One was running and the other was following discreetly. The two of them were having a long battle of attrition in the fantasy zone. Speaking about attrition, Shuryen wasn't Carefree's opponent. Shortly after, Shuryen couldn't stand it anymore. The god power in his body became faint and faded away. Carefree thought he had seen hope. But at this moment, Shuryen began to use his new sources of energy. They were the blood chi, the negative energy in his veins, and the star energy. Those were the alternatives he often used to replace the god power. Under Carefree's pressure, he had released himself from all restraints. He used up his energy to train his spirit and will. His understanding of power Upanishads and his soul were sublimated. They were all increasing inexplicably. His life magnetic field has sublimated. This kid has extraordinary innate talents. He is worthy of being that guy's successor. In the dark, secret void, Carefree mumbled to himself. He sounded very surprised. The life magnetic field was the core of the soul seal. It was the key feature that meant that the highly intelligent creatures were more prominent than the other creatures. For example, the life magnetic field of the four great creatures was one level greater than the other races. They had the advantage in approaching the perfect condition. The life magnetic field could sublimate and evolve with the soul seal so the creature could reach another height of life. However, not anyone could have the chance to sublimate his life magnetic field. Only those with the origins of the ancient continents could have the opportunity with adequate natural endowments. It was magical and unpredictable. As Carefree was the god lord subordinate, he knew the mysteries when the life magnetic field sublimated. The god Lord used to experience that. He said that it was a magnificent experience that he couldn't explain clearly. It was much more important than breaking through to a new realm. It was because it would happen when the warrior didn't recognize it. The warrior wouldn't lose his consciousness. He would be extremely responsive, which was different from the dumb and dreamy condition when a warrior comprehended a new realm. That was why Carefree didn't dare to act rashly. He just observed and felt amazed. Sure, Yen didn't know what was really happening when his life magnetic field sublimated. Still feeling Carefree's pressure, he realized that his soul became crystal clear, and the 3 power Upanishads took turns to emerge on his soul altar. Suddenly, many matters that Sure Yen found difficult to understand were clear to him now. It felt like a dummy got a divine potion and had his intelligence rocket. He became a genius all of a sudden. It was the soul transformation. It was similar to when a beast with low intelligence became smarter when its level increased. He could vaguely feel that this encounter that had changed his soul altar, and his soul had come from the origin and the Genesis fruit that he had fused. It was somehow the result of the fusion at a deeper level with Grace Mainland. It wasn't that he was comprehending his realm and power Upanishad. It was the transformation of his soul seal. Although he was still under Carefree's pressure, the worry and anxiety in his mind had lifted up. He carried Ouyang Luoshuang and flew rapidly. Along the way, his soul altar and sea of consciousness were calm without any ripples. Many issues he hadn't comprehended now opened to him like bright, open windows. Sure Yen looked relaxed and calm. As he knew that Carefree was watching him, he instinctively knew how to deal with him. Sure Yen gripped Ouyang Luoshuang and released his pressure to tell Carefree that he was still cautious like a wild beast living in the forest for so many years. When it faced the danger, it used its instincts to predict and prepare with the perfect condition. In such a condition, he had left the fantasy zone and moved to the middle area of the 1,000 fantasy star area. When he had left the fantasy zone, he had a sudden understanding as if he could find the chance to overturn the situation in any minute and escape. His opportunity actually showed up. A dim light that appeared in front of him. In just a blink of an eye, it ballooned like a massive mouth and swallowed him directly. Then it shrank rapidly. Before Carefree came, it had disappeared strangely. When Carefree appeared, Sure Yen had vanished into thin air and nothing was left behind, not even his aura. It was like he didn't exist in this universe. Chapter 1291 De Carlos. Chapter 1291 De Carlos _ Carefree was sitting cross-legged on the moon nucleus and hovering outside the fantasy zone, his eyes dark and cold. He had released his soul consciousness to move around. In just a glimpse, his soul consciousness had skimmed through the vast area of the 1,000 fantasy star R and searched each life star. He got nothing. Carefree made a conclusion. Sure Yen had torn the space and ran away. This conclusion made him sober. He knew that he had closed the space here, and Sure Yen wasn't able to tear even a small slit. He immediately confirmed that someone had helped Sure Yen and delivered him away. If that expert could take someone from the space he had sealed, that expert's realm wasn't lower than his. Also, that one must be a master in space power Upanishad. A character popped up in his mind. With a cold countenance, he talked to the void, his voice glum. De Carlos, you messed up with my business. The wind howled from a deep area ahead of Carefree. Billions of strange lights burst off, shooting everywhere and cutting through that area, mincing space into pieces. In a narrow space slit, a wrinkled old man wearing a long, white robe emerged. He was sitting on a massive, empty fantasy crystal. Hovering by the mouth of the space slit, the old man talked begrudgingly. Carefree, long time no see. But I don't actually want to see you. You messed with my important business right when you saw me. And now you tell me you don't want to see me. Carefree's eyes were dark and deep as he said coldly, De Carlos, Our God clan hasn't troubled you once in 10,000 years. Today, you interfered with my business. Do you want to stand against the God clan? No, 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 I don't dare. The old man forced a smile. His face looked like he had owed the others a lot of favors. I have no choice. I have to repay my debt. I showed myself to tell you that your disciple will be all right. Don't worry. I'll keep an eye on her. Also, you should notify the Bradley family. I delivered that kid to Thunder Firmament Star area, which is under their management. The warriors of the Bradley family based there could have some trouble. Was it the request of the president of Chamber of Commerce, or Ming Hao? Carefree thundered. Don't ask me. I was begrudging, you know. Sigh, I didn't want to join, but they keep chasing after me. I've been quiet for thousands of years, and they've still kept their eyes on me. My life is so awful, DeCarlos shook his head. The space slit where he hovered closed little by little, while the void Carefree had troubled was smoothened and resumed its normal status. DeCarlos was the warrior with the best space power Upanishad in the cosmos. He was the sort of character that could make the 4 big clans troubled. This old man could move through spaces like a shuttle. No one could stop him. He was the target that the big forces wanted to recruit. However, until now, he didn't make it clear that he wanted to join any force. He hadn't admitted his membership in Tsunami Chamber of Commerce, either. Anyway, the warriors of Tsunami Chamber of Commerce always respected him. They assumed that he was the person that ranked only behind their president. Ban Yu had assumed that Shi Yen was DeCarlos' later generation when they were outside of the Fantasy Star. Thus, they had changed their attitude toward him. They had made Xingshan and Wei Yun hesitate to attack him. It was because of DeCarlos' fame. Today, the character that Ban Yu had assumed to have a relationship with Shi Yen had appeared. He had delivered Shi Yen to Thunder Firmament Star area under Carefree's restriction. It was fate, indeed. Thunder Firmament Star area. Carefree frowned. His soul consciousness flickered. He immediately found the nearest teleport formation and moved away. Dash. Thunder Firmament Star area. This was the star area under the Bradley family's management. In the past, this area belonged to a force called the Thunder Firmament League. The Bradley family had invaded this star area and eradicated that league. The small forces of Thunder Firmament Star area had to follow the God clan and become their subordinates or get killed. Most of the native forces in Thunder Firmament Star area had chosen the first option. They had begun to serve the Bradley family as their masters by collecting and exploiting the precious, cultivating materials for them. The rebellious warriors disappeared like the Thunder Firmament League or ran away from Thunder Firmament Star area. Today, the experts of the Bradley family stayed and based in Thunder Firmament Star area with the cooperation of the native forces. The leader of this star area was Haig's uncle from the Bradley family, a second sky of incipient God realm expert called Wright. Wright was the real overlord of Thunder Firmament Star area. He ruled the influential native forces of the star area. He stayed and guarded the Thunder Firmament Lake, which was the richest land in the entire star area. He had many beautiful women from different races, made them with a collar with a silver bell, and crawl on the ground as his beautiful dogs. Wright often bragged about this with his peers in the God clan. The Thunder Firmament was created by several light bands that congregated. The water here was transparent without a speck of dust. Several meteorites were floating in the heavenly lake, which had extremely rich earth and heaven energy. The warriors grew a lot of strange flowers and herbs. Materials were stacked in piles. Many battleships of the God clan often visited the Thunder Firmament Star area to transport materials from the native forces to this base, or from this base to the Bradley family in ancient God Star area. Today, while Wright was having fun in his abode by the heavenly lake, he noticed the situation projected in the divine mirror in the secret chamber. He changed his face and kicked some of his beautiful doggy maids in his way. He was frightened when he stormed into the secret chamber. Shortly after, He knew from the divine mirror in the secret chamber that the new master of the bloodthirsty force had been delivered to his star area. Right immediately delivered many orders and stirred up the entire sea of stars to find the new master of the bloodthirsty force. The barrier between the star areas. Shi Yan and Ouyang Luo Shuang appeared. This area was a peripheral area of thunder firmament star area with layers of lightning strikes. Watching carefully, Shi Yan felt familiar with the lightning here. It was very similar to the immemorial thunder dragon of heavenly monster tribe. The immemorial thunder dragon was one of the monster ancestors of heavenly monster tribe. This ancestor had fallen a very long time ago. However, legends say that after the immemorial thunder dragon was killed, its soul divided into many wisps and scattered around the universe. The heavenly monster tribe used to search and try to collect the dragon's wisps to resurrect him. Unfortunately, the heavenly monster tribe had searched for many years, but they couldn't find the immemorial thunder dragon's soul to resurrect it. Of course, this mission was postponed to forever. He had fused with the origin of the Grace mainland, so he knew many secrets of the heavenly monster tribe. That's how he knew about the legends of the immemorial thunder dragon. Today, Shi Yan felt touched when he observed the lightning beams generating in this thunder firmament star area. He vaguely felt that the lightning beams in this thunder firmament star area were the wisps of the immemorial thunder dragon's soul. The expert that had delivered him here should know this and have some plan too. Shi Yan knew that the one who had sent him to thunder firmament star area was, of course, an expert cultivating space power Upanishad at a profound level. He understood that this expert's realm should be equal to carefree. Otherwise, he couldn't have done that. And now, if he wanted to return to Grace mainland, he could do it with just a flick of his thoughts. But Shi Yan wasn't hurried. He knew that the other had sent him to the peripheral area of the thunder firmament star area, where he could discover the secret of the immemorial thunder dragon through the lightning here for some reason. Does he want me to collect the immemorial thunder dragon's soul? Shi Yan thought and frowned. Eventually he thought of an idea. His spirit shuddered as if he had just woken up from some magical state. He was bewildered for a while. He pulled himself together and sensed carefully. His expression looked special as he found that the bottleneck that had stopped him from entering second sky of incipient God realm was gone. The confusing parts that he didn't understand when cultivating the star, space, and life and death powers Upanishads became so clear. He got the feeling that as long as he accumulated enough God power, he could break through again. He quickly recognized that it was related to the inexplicable transformation of his soul in the fantasy zone. But he wasn't so sure. He knew something had happened to him because he could feel the subtle changes in his soul and life magnetic field. He couldn't tell what had happened and what it was, but he knew it happened. He turned to Ouyang Luo Shuang, jolted up and gave a forced smile. Ouyang Luo Shuang gazed at him. Her bright eyes were so chilling. Shi Yan realized that Ouyang Luo Shuang was still confined. She couldn't talk or move. It wasn't different from being chained by the primordial spirit lock. He hurried to lift up the restriction. Then he didn't wait for Ouyang Luo Shuang to nag him. He discreetly used his life power Upanishad and sent a beam of vitality to Ouyang Luo Shuang's body to heal her wound and make her abdomen even tougher than before Shi Yan had stabbed her. After that essence of life disappeared, Shi Yan paled and spread his arms to admit his mistake. All right, my bad. You can do anything you want of me. After Ouyang Luo Shuang was released, she didn't attack or scold him. She just glared at him coldly. However, under her gaze, Shi Yan felt embarrassed because it was his mistake. He stooped his head and didn't dare to look at her. He behaved and admitted his fault. Ouyang Luo Shuang just looked at him like this for a long time. It was so long that Shi Yan was about to crack before she rose her voice. I just want to ask one question. If my teacher attacked you, would you kill me or not? It was the one question she had thought about all the time when they were traveling. It was also what she was most concerned about. Air! Shiryen lifted his head, his eyes puzzled. He quieted down. After a long moment, he whispered, I don't actually know. Shiryen, what kind of man you are? Ouyang Luo Shuang sighed, her eyes complicated. You can leave now. We shouldn't meet later. You're the heavenly king, Carefree's disciple, and I'm the master of the bloodthirsty force. We can't stay together like this. Shiryen looked at her and sighed inwardly. I'm Carefree's disciple. Why do you want to let me go? Aren't you afraid that I will kill you later? Ouyang Luo Shuang was bewildered, her heart touched. You are you, and he is him. You guys are different in my eyes, said Shiryen. Yes, I am me, and he is him. It's true. So what are you afraid of? Even if we meet later, I'm still Ouyang Luo Shuang. I'm not a member of the God clan. And you're Shiryen, not the bloodthirsty forces master something. What are you worried about? Ouyang Luo Shuang was puzzled. Shiryen was astounded. He immediately understood her idea through her words. He nodded in agreement. Yeah, that's right. Chapter 1292. The Chen Family. Chapter 1292. The Chen Family _ Ouyang Luo Shuang hadn't left because Shiryen didn't have much energy remaining. He had consumed a lot of his god power for the trip. Sure, Yen didn't ask her to leave as he thought that it was good to have someone protect him now. It was true that he had consumed a lot of energy. By the barriers of Thunder Firmament Star area, he gathered his spirit to see the lightning bolts flash at the barrier. He was so surprised. Now he could confirm that the lightning here was the wisps of the immemorial Thunder Dragon's soul. However, he didn't know how to resurrect it. He was puzzled. If that expert knew that was the immemorial Thunder Dragon's soul and wanted to revive the immemorial Thunder Dragon, he should have let Heavenly Monster Tribe know about this, especially the Holy Beast Azure Dragon. Why did he want to bring Yen here? Yen didn't understand. The immemorial Thunder Dragon was one of the ancestors of Heavenly Monster Tribe. Although he didn't have the unique echelon in Heavenly Monster Tribe like the 4 holy beasts, he was still just as important. With the continent's origin and the memories of the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird, he knew the secrets of Heavenly Monster Tribe. He knew that Vermilion Bird used to fight the immemorial Thunder Dragon and couldn't defeat him. If the monster ancestors of Heavenly Monster Tribe could live until now, they should be at the Immortal Realm. Once the soul of the immemorial Thunder Dragon was gathered and restored, Heavenly Monster Tribe would have another Immortal Realm warrior. Also, Shiryen was sure that Heavenly Monster Tribe would stand on his side. He suddenly understood. This immemorial Thunder Dragon could be a special arrangement that someone had kept here and was waiting for someone to resurrect the dragon. The immemorial Thunder Dragon was a creature born in Grace Mainland during the immemorial epoch. It had used the Origin's power of the continent. The Origin is structured with the Heaven Flames. Oh, the Heaven Flames, the world-extinguishing Thunder Flame, the immemorial Thunder Dragon. From Origin, he frowned and tried to find a way to resurrect the immemorial Thunder Dragon. He seemed to grab the key element. His eyes brightened. Someone is coming. Ouyang Luo Shuang furrowed her bold brows, screaming. No need to mind them, Shiryen said casually. Ouyang Luo Shuang didn't say anything else. She stood upright beside him and looked at him quietly, her bright eyes a little strange. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 gold war chariots, like beetles, maneuvered near them and accelerated toward them. The war chariots carried 12 warriors, for on each vehicle, the strongest of them were at Ethereal God Realm and the rest were at Original God Realm. They were from a native force of Thunder Firmament Star area and were working around the Star Area barrier. Receiving rights orders, they had to push their patrolling teams in this area. As they had Shiryen's drawing, they recognized him when they saw him by the barrier. The 3 war chariots hurried to approach them. The 2 first sky of Ethereal God Realm on the other war chariot looked at the highest realm warrior in this group, an expert at second sky of ethereal god realm. That expert had gold hair that was flying with the wind. She was a mature woman. Although she looked mild, her eyes were so wise. However, she had an ugly scar across her face. That scar started from the corner of the left eye to the right corner of her mouth. It made her charming face fearsome. She looked at Shi Yan and Ouyang Luo Shuang in the distance, and her face heavy. "Madame Lei, he's the man in the picture," said Chen Deqiao, a fat, pale warrior. The woman he had addressed Madame Lei was called Chun Lei. This group of warriors was from the Chun family dwelling in this remote area of Thunder Firmament Star area. They were living on a level 4 life star. Although the earth and heaven energy here wasn't rich, this area had many precious natural products and mineral stars. The Bradley family had sent a troop to their life star to enslave the Qin family. The warriors of the Chen family had to exploit the ores for them. Chun Lei was the younger sister of the current chief of the Chen family. She had the second sky of ethereal god realm cultivation base, which ranked right behind her brother Chenrong. Chen Lei had based on those mineral stars year-round. Today, as Wright had ordered, she left the base and brought some warriors to this remote barrier area to patrol. She thought that she just needed to come here and move around before returning. She hadn't expected that she could find the one who Wright wanted. As the Bradley family had invaded this star area, it had cut off the connection with the world out there. As the Chens were living in an isolated star area, they didn't know the turbulent commotions in the universe lately. They didn't know that the bloodthirsty force and the God clan were about to fight each other. But Chun Lei wasn't dumb. She knew the one Wright wanted to find wasn't someone they could offend. Thus, even though she knew he was the one they wanted to find, she didn't dare to move. Her face grimaced as she hissed, "Deqiao, don't talk nonsense or report it." Chun Deqiao nodded and followed her orders. His hand, clutching the sound stone, relaxed. The warriors of the Chen family looked at Chun Lei and waited for her decision. As the others were looking at her, Chun Lei took a deep breath. Her face became respectful. She flew out of the war chariot alone and slowly moved towards Shi Yan. "I am Chun Lei from the Qin family on a level 4 life star in the Thunder Firmament Star area. Greetings." Wright had given them only a drawing without a name. Thus, she recognized Shi Yan, but she couldn't address him. Ouyang Luo Shuang's eyes were clear but cold. She had found Chen Lei's team earlier. She had asked Shi Yan what to do with them. Shi Yan told her to consider everything and just do what she wanted. She hesitated whether she should kill them all or not. She wasn't an innocent girl anymore. After many years moving in the Sea of Stars, she had experienced many sinister events. She knew how to protect herself in a special situation. Sometimes, killing people to survive wasn't a knot in her mind. She thought that it was inevitable. She had adapted well to this mad world. You guys better not use the Soundstone. Otherwise, you shouldn't dream about continuing your lives. Ouyang Luo Shuang's cold eyes glared at Chen Deqiao's hand hiding in his sleeve. "Put away your Soundstone." Chun Lei was a little shaken. She hurried to order her troopers. The Chun warriors hurried to follow her order. They all looked frightened. They were very far from each other, but Ouyang Luo Shuang could recognize that they were holding the Soundstone. It made them scared and feel unsafe. And now they felt lucky because of Chun Lei's wisdom. If they had acted normally and reported to the Bradley family right when they saw them, they would have become corpses now. Chun Lei was astounded. Although she was at second sky of ethereal god realm, she felt a massive pressure as if she was beholding an imposing mountain range after she had come near to Ouyang Luo Shuang. She felt dispirited as if she couldn't wiggle. She was so baffled, but she could confirm immediately that this cold girl was at incipient god realm. This finding made her more insecure. "Tell them to come here. We need to ask for more information. We don't even know where we are. It's a little troublesome, though." Shi Yan rubbed his chin and frowned. "Come here, all of you," Ouyang Luo Shuang gave a light shout. Chun Lei led her troop. Before the warriors of the Chun family arrived, she said, I just said that this place is in Thunder Firmament Star area. We're from the Chun family living around here. We've received Sir Wright's order to check this area. He wants to find you. I saw the picture you keep. I'm the one you want to find. Okay, now tell me, who is right? Tell me the current situation of this place, said Shi Yan indifferently. As Shi Yan cultivated space power Upanishad, even though he consumed a lot of his energy, it wasn't hard to check the moves of low-realm warriors like Chun Lei. However, Chun Lei's team was panic-stricken when they knew that Shi Yan could see every small move of them. Chun De Chiao hurried to explain, No, we haven't reported anything. We don't. I know. Otherwise, you would be dead now. Shi Yan's face was impatient. Looking at Chun Lei, he said, Explain to us. 3,000 years ago, the Bradley family of the God clan had invaded our Thunder Firmament Star area. Then, we've become their dependent star area. Currently, Right of the Bradley family controls our star area. Right has second sky of incipient God realm cultivation base. Chun Lei reported in detail the events and the situations in Thunder Firmament Star area. She had even stressed on Wright's evil, corrupted, and greedy behaviors. She even told them that he kept a lot of beautiful women and made them his pet dogs. While talking, she carefully noticed Shi Yan's expression as she wanted to get more information. Shi Yan frowned. After listening to her, he nodded. Sir, why did you come to our Thunder Firmament Star area? Wright wants to find you. Is it because you are against them? Chun Lei pried. Before the God clan's invasion, the Chin family could be considered rich. With many natural products in this remote area, they had quiet and relaxed lives. When the Bradley family came, their doomsday came together. Chun Lei and Chun Rong's precursors were killed in the battle against the God clan. Chun Rong and Chun Lei knew that they couldn't defeat the God clan. To maintain the family, they had to be subdued. Recently, Chun Rong and Chun Lei were abused so badly. Today, they even didn't have enough divine crystals to cultivate. The ores that they had exploited were all brought away massively and unceasingly. They couldn't have a bit of it, so they wanted to take revenge. However, they weren't strong enough to resist, so they had to endure this terrible situation. As Chun Lei knew Ouyang Luo Shuang had the incipient God realm cultivation base, she had an idea. She wanted to borrow their forces to do something. Thus, she was so cooperative. Did anything strange used to happen in this barrier area? Since your Chun family always lives here, I guess you should know something. Shi Yan didn't answer Chun Lei's question, frowning and asking. Although he could confirm that the lightning beams in this area were wisps of the immemorial thunder dragon's soul, he didn't know where the dragon's body was. If he wanted to revive the immemorial thunder dragon, he needed its corpse too besides collecting the soul. If he could find the corpse with the method he just thought of in his head, he was 70% sure that he could resurrect the immemorial thunder dragon. Anything strange? A lot. What do you want to know? Asked Chun Lei. The events related to the lightning and thunder. Is there any mountain range that suddenly has lightning and thunder, and suddenly produces a lot of crystals with lightning and thunder attribute? Sure, Yan said directly. Chun Lei's eyes brightened, her face surprised. Oh, you're right. Something strange had happened, as you said. My ancestor had recorded something like that. Chapter 1293, Slaughter. Chapter 1293, Slaughter, underscore. Chun Lei told them everything. The Chun family had lived in this star area for dozens of thousands of years. They had the family records. The rumors said that from the beginning, there wasn't even a single mineral star around Heaven Cloud Star. They had only dead stars and many massive hovering meteorites. They had sometimes blocked the way. The Chun family used to seclude, and they had only cultivated in their Heaven Cloud Star. When they needed cultivating materials, they visited the market in Thunder Firmament Star area. According to the Chen family's records, there was a terrifying commotion at the star area barrier 10,000 years ago. A loud explosion accompanied with reverberating thunder, like doomsday, was heard all of a sudden. The precursors of Chen family came to check and found that a large area of the space barrier was shattered. Dazzling electrical beams shot out and killed many warriors of the Qin family who came to investigate. The lucky warriors had escaped from the scene at their max speed. They didn't dare to linger to observe. After that, the outer space around Heaven Cloud Star of the Qin family still had Earth-destructive shock waves that came from the dead stars and the meteorites that blocked the star. But the Chen family didn't dare to go there to observe anymore. Several years after those terrifying shock waves disappeared, the precursors of the Chen family came to see. Until that time, they found that many massive meteorites that used to block the space were broken into many smaller pieces. The brutal thunder and lightning storm filled the space. The dead stars there exploded and disappeared while some other small stars had changed their positions. It seemed like a huge change had affected this remote area. After several hundred years, the strong electric currents still appeared in that area and moved around before disappearing. Then the Chen family came and found that the dead stars there had changed. The mountains there began to produce a wind thunderstone. The wind thunderstone had lightning and thunder energy that was like divine crystals to the warriors cultivating lightning power Upanishad. The dead stars had become the mineral stars. The Qin family had become richer with a large amount of wind thunderstones exploited. The Chen family had gradually been stronger thanks to those wind thunderstone mineral lodes. Then the God clan had sent a troop to Heaven Cloud Star because of this massive quantity of wind thunderstones. They had enslaved the Chen family to exploit the ores and transport them away. Wind thunderstone. Shi Yan was touched. He nodded as he got it now. From what Chun Lei had told them, Shi Yan confirmed that the emergence of the wind thunderstone was absolutely related to the immemorial thunder dragon's remains. Perhaps the immemorial thunder dragon was buried in one of those mineral stars. The immemorial thunder dragon used to be in existence at the immortal realm, so his remains had terrifying thunder and lightning power. Because it was buried for a long time underground, it was able to change the mountain rock and produce wind thunderstones. "Take me to those mineral lodes," Shi Yan ordered Chun Lei. Chun Lei was hesitant. "So," Shi Yan frowned. "It's not impossible, but the God clan's warriors guard the mines. When you get exposed, it will be troublesome," explained Chun Lei. "What's the highest realm of those people watching the mine?" asked Shi Yan. "Not very different from ours. However, at the same realm, the God warriors are stronger than us. The warrior with the highest realm here is at second sky of ethereal God realm. He's more intimidating than me," Chun Lei answered. "Too weak. Not enough for me to recover my power," Shi Yan mumbled and then said, "Take us there. You don't need to worry about those God warriors. We'll handle them." "Oh." Chen Lei's eyes brightened up. She nodded happily. "It's good then." After she could see that Ouyang Luoshuang had incipient God realm cultivation base, she believed that she would use their power to overturn the bad situation of the Qin family. And now, Shi Yan proactively wanted to attack the God clan. It was her wish, actually. Chen Lei talked to her troopers and took Shi Yan and Ouyang Luoshuang on a war chariot. They flew towards the mineral star that the Chen family guarded. Shi Yan stood on the war chariot and looked at the space barrier that had the immemorial thunder dragon's soul. He secretly left a wisp of soul consciousness to mark the place. Not long after they had left, De Carlos appeared from a space slit on the star area barrier. He looked compassionate when he looked at the wisps of immemorial thunder dragon's soul. He sighed, "My old friend, it's not my wish to let you wait and suffer for so long time. To resurrect you, I need the origin of the planet that gave birth to you." Even if I was more worried, I would still have to wait. However, if it goes smoothly this time, not only will you be revived, but you will also have good luck. The one with the origin of your ancestral planet also has the Genesis fruit. Your fortune is coming to you. De Carlos looked at the lightning beams and smiled. When you're revived, I will bring good wine to drink with you and congratulate you. I'm waiting for you. He looked in the direction Shi Yen had disappeared. He mumbled to himself, shrank into a light dot and disappeared. Ah, the gold beetle wore. Chariot slowed down. Chun Lei pointed at the area ahead of them and said sternly, "That's the mineral star that our Chen family guards. There are dozens of mines. Take a look at them. Can you see those mineral stars connected to each other by some strange matter? It wasn't like that previously. After that great commotion, they've become connected." Shi Yen looked in the direction she was pointing at, his face surprised. There were some mineral stars in front of them. Those planets didn't have plants or grass. There were only mountains. Chun Lei said that those mineral stars were the transformation of the dead stars. It was true indeed. Those mineral stars had strange shapes of an egg, a spear or a ball. Those mineral stars used to be separated. But right now, they were stuck to each other and looked like an ugly chunk. More pieces of meteorites scattered around this group of malignant, tumor-like mineral stars where people had built some accommodations. They looked beautiful and luxurious with many people walking in and out. He closed his eyes, scanning through the area. Immediately, he found many low-realm warriors working on a massive mineral star. They were most likely warriors of the Chun family. Only warriors could become miners who worked and were exposed to outer space. Ordinary people couldn't breathe or have enough energy to do that. Thus, the God Clan had bullied and forced the Qin family warriors to become their slaves. The warriors of the Qin family had to live inside the dark mineral stars without sunlight and exploit the ores. The members of the Bradley family scattered around the mineral stars and stayed in those accommodations. They didn't need to work. Every day, they just spent time to cultivate, drank, and had fun while watching the Qin family warriors. Chun Lei looked at those small houses around the mineral stars and the god warriors. Her scarred face showed a deep resentment. The flame of anger burned in her eyes. "You hate them a lot, right?" Ouyang Luo Shuang asked faintly. Hearing her, the Chun family warriors on the 3 gold beetle war chariots gritted their teeth and nodded in unison. "The strongest warriors over there have the same second sky of ethereal god realm like you. Why don't you dare to attack them?" asked Ouyang Luo Shuang. Chun Lei's face showed her bitter and mournful feelings. "I tried and failed. I was confined for 3 years. If they didn't need more slaves to exploit the ores, they would slaughter us and destroy the Qin family. We exist to exploit the mines for them. They want the Wind Thunderstone. They use the precious stones to exchange for their wealth and the better conditions for their family member in ancient God Star area. Compared to them, we're just the low servants." Chun Lei ground her teeth, her eyes filled with reluctant sorrow. "We can kill them all, and even their warriors on your heaven sky star. But aren't you be afraid of them taking revenge later?" asked Ouyang Luo Shuang. "We heard that they're in trouble now. Lately, they have sent many battleships out of Thunder Firmament Star area. We think that they are in a war. We want to seize this chance to escape their confinement and leave. We don't want to live here anymore because we can't even have basic conditions to cultivate. Our realms have begun to decrease." Qin Lei was dismal and helpless. "If you sincerely cooperate with me, I agree with you that I will give your Qin family a way to survive. I can take you guys to another star area to live," said Shi Yen all of a sudden. Listening to him, Chun Lei and the Chun family warriors had their eyes brighten, and they looked at him with excitement. "Is it real?" "It's easy for me," Shi Yen smiled. The Chun family warriors were so thrilled. Chun Lei replied immediately, "We will try our best to cooperate with you." Shi Yen grinned, nodded, and then turned into a light beam that shot forward. "Who's that?" "Wanton." "Ah, that's him. He's the one Sir Right wants to find." Many warriors of the God clan on the meteorite by the massive mineral star were startled. They hissed and shouted, their faces angry. However, the blood rain then covered them. Shi Yan was like a bloody sword that brutally thrust into the flesh body. The god warriors exploded in a bloodlight. All of them were killed, tragically. Although his god power was massively consumed before, it wasn't a problem for him to deal with the warriors below, second sky of ethereal god realm. He discreetly used the devouring power Upanishad. Every time he passed by a warrior, the acupuncture points in his entire body sucked forcefully, and the essence chi, blood chi, and even the flesh body of the god warriors were sucked out. They turned into dried corpses quickly. Sure, Yen came to the god warrior who was at second sky of incipient god realm cultivation base and placed his hand on the man's head. While Chunlei and the others of the Qin family were watching, the essence chi and even blood and flesh of that god warrior were sucked out. His vitality drained rapidly. After dozens of seconds, the man had turned into ashes and not even a bone was left. Shi Yan touched his glabella. The black hole appeared and moved around the meteorite to swallow the soul altars of those dead warriors. After several minutes, 35 god warriors were slaughtered. The Chun family warriors were petrified. Even Ouyang Luo Shuang became slightly pale. She began to doubt if going with Shi Yan was a good move. Everything had happened quickly. When the Chun family warriors and Ouyang Luo Shuang could get a hold of themselves, the god warriors were all killed. Their vitality was drawn. Chapter 1294 Risk Life. Chapter 1294 Risk Life _ Shi Yan felt so happy. It had been years, and Shi Yan had never dared to expose his devouring power Upanishad while fighting the others. He didn't dare to use this special ability to swallow the soul altars. It was because he understood the gruesome power of this Upanishad. Xian, he had advised him not to show it before he reached incipient god realm or was enthroned. It would keep him away from the god clan's eye. Thus, he always felt like his hands were tied. However, he didn't need to conceal it now. He could release the evil inside him as he could show the devouring power Upanishad as he pleased. Today's slaughter was the battle where he felt the most free. Although it was only him attacking the others, he felt satisfied. He slightly closed his eyes and checked his conditions. The deaths of 35 god warriors had supplied him the merest piece of energy. No need to talk about breaking to second sky of incipient god realm. It wasn't enough to refill his energy. He knew that it wasn't good. With his current condition, even if he could find the immemorial thunder dragon's remains inside the mine, he couldn't check it or do anything to move it out, let alone gather the dragon's soul and resurrect him. He needed more energy. He needed to recover fast. It would be the best if he could increase his realm to second sky of incipient god realm. That would give him more confidence. Take me to your heaven cloud star. I'll help your Qin family destroy the god clan warriors. Shi Yan turned it to Qinlei. Chunlei was restless and frightened. She nodded instinctively. Yes, yes. She was aghast indeed. She thought that Ouyang Luo Shuang was the stronger warrior between these two. It was because Shi Yan's god power was exhausted that she couldn't feel his terrifying energy fluctuations. However, seeing that Shi Yan was like a hungry wolf entering a sheep pasture when killing the god warriors who had enslaved them for so many years brutally and quickly, she was surprised. She didn't even blink. She saw Shi Yan use an extremely evil power Upanishad to take the energy of the god warriors. He had even taken in their soul altars. She had never seen any power Upanishad as malicious as his. She became fearful and worried as she doubted her decision. It was because Shi Yan's performance was beyond her estimation. He was too brutal. Let's go to Heaven Cloud Star. Shi Yan bellowed again. Chun Lei was frightened. She didn't dare to linger and urged her troopers. Go. Go to Heaven Cloud Star. The 3 gold beetle war chariots hissed and flew away, hurrying to take Shi Yan and Ouyang Luo swung away. At the same time, the Qin warriors came out of the mines. All of them looked bony. They were baffled when they looked at the scene and didn't know what had just happened. Ah, they're dead. They're all dead. Oh my gosh! What happened? They quickly discovered the bodies of the God Clan warriors and screamed. They looked at Chen Lei flying away and felt so happy. They thought that Chen Lei had done this. Chen Lei forced a smile and told them, Guys, wait here. Don't go anywhere. The Chun family warriors nodded continuously. Before the gold beetle war chariots flew away, Shi Yan had left a signal at the direction of this mineral star. After he was done with the stuff in the Heaven Cloud Star, he could get here in any minute. Although his space power Upanishad couldn't help him tear the space and move between different star areas, it was as easy as flipping his hand when he wanted to travel within a star area. After Shi Yan and Chun Lei had left, De Carlos appeared again, secretly by that area. He rubbed his white hair and mumbled to himself. Sigh, why doesn't he do the right thing now? Why does he need to waste his power for irrelevant things? The old man looked at the massive mineral stars and said, Old friend, don't be anxious. Soon we will meet up again. Heaven Cloud Star. It was a level 4 life star, which isn't really big. Because of its isolated location, it wasn't lively. Not many people visited this place. This life star had only one force of warriors, and it was the Qin family. There were dozens of thousands of them, but their realms weren't high. Most of them were at Disaster Realm and Nascent Realm. The number of King God Realm warriors was small. A grand palace was built on an imposing mountain of Heaven Cloud Star. This palace used to be the Qin family's holy land, but the God Clan troop had claimed it. Chen Rong, the current chief of the Chen family, lived with the other warriors of the family by the foot of this mountain. They could only lift their heads to look at their ancestral land. Sir, that avatar is just at third sky of ethereal god realm like you. If we join hands and try our best, can we kill him? By the mountain foot, an elder of the Qin family looked at the holy land. His eyes filled with deep resentment. 3 years ago, Avatar had captured his daughter and taken her to the mountain, saying that he would impart her the power Upanishad. It had been 3 years since the elder had seen his daughter. Several days ago, a Chun family warrior had found his daughter's dead body in the valley with shabby, torn clothes and the terrible whipping marks on her skin, which was so horrible to see. After he had received his daughter's remains, he had shut himself inside the room, crying and screaming until his voice became hoarse. Today he went out of his room and came to see Chenrong. Gritting his teeth, a trickle of blood dripped on the corner of his mouth. He riskily proposed to Chenrong. Chenrong looked at him, his face so sad. Yanji, if we do our best, we will have around a 50% chance to win. But what if we win? The God Clan will send stronger warriors here. Have you ever thought of the consequence of our Qin family if Right attacks us maliciously? So we just let them act like this forever. Chun Yan's eyes were bloodshot. He ground his teeth, his face ferocious like the savage beast. Yanji, I have the same grudge. I have the same feelings. I remember clearly how our fathers and uncles died. Chenrong looked at him and sighed. I told you to destroy Little Land's beautiful face. You didn't listen to me. How cruel would I be to destroy my daughter's beautiful face? I was afraid that she would hate me for the rest of my life. I couldn't do that, shouted Qin Yan. Listening to him, Chenrong clutched his chest. His face suffered. Chun Yan was bewildered. He reacted quickly and lowered his head. I'm sorry, Chief. I didn't mean it. Chenrong panted and waved his hand. No, it's not related to you. You're right. If I can be like you, our little Lon wouldn't be. Stop it, shouted Chenrong all of a sudden. Chin, Yen lowered his head and sighed. Help! Grandfather! Help me! Suddenly, a female's voice arose and called for help. Chunrong and Chen Yen discolored and flew toward the source of the call. They came to the scene quickly. It was a lake where the Chun family warriors cultivated. At this moment, 2 young men of the God clan were trying to abduct a young girl. They wanted to take her to the mountain. That girl couldn't be said really beautiful. She looked so thin, and she had only the disaster realm cultivation base. She came to the lake to collect spirit fruits. The 2 young men of the God clan passed by the place and met her. They wanted to abduct her, so they told her that they would offer her a good opportunity. They would take her to the mountain of the Chun family to cultivate. They would teach her the secret techniques of the God clan that wasn't allowed to be taught to anyone else. From her family and friends, the girl knew the consequences of the women who were taken to the mountain to receive the secret techniques. Of course, she didn't want to go with them. She screamed and cried for help. Chun Yan's eyes reddened when he saw the 2 young men attempt to do the same deed as Avatar. His flame of anger burst out. He didn't care about Chunrong trying to stop him. He shouted and attacked the other 2. With his second sky of ethereal god realm, he immediately urged the wood power. The branches of the ancient trees in the woods immediately wound around the 2 young men at King God realm and squeezed. Just like the massive pythons, the branches squeezed off the 2 young men from the God clan. They became pulps of blood and flesh. Blood dripped on the ground. The girl was so scared that she became ashen. Chen Yen had taken action with a big grudge. Chun Rong was dumbstruck, his eyes filled with horror. Oh gosh, we're done. Chun Rong cried. He knew Chen Yan's act in his rage would create a big mess. He didn't know how many warriors of the Chun family had to die in Avatar's hands for this. Chief, the young girl sobbed. She was petrified. Chin Rong waved his hand weakly. Pondering for a while, he said, No, it's not your fault. You should leave immediately. He had to think about how to deal with the coming trouble. While they were thinking, they didn't notice that the 2 pieces of jade on the young men's necks shattered at the same time after they perished. Shortly after, an indignant, wild sound came from the Chin family's Holy Land Mountain. Chinrong's face paled. Chin Yen knew what had happened. Putting on a savage face, he shouted, I'll risk my life with him. Chinrong forced a smile. You have only second sky of ethereal god realm cultivation base. You're not his opponent. It's too bad this time. Sir. Chun Yen was bewildered. Go all out. Chinrong took a deep breath and said, I'd rather accept the destructive disaster to my family. We have to fight once. We've endured enough. This time we will have hope. The Chin family and I will die all together. Then you should die together with the Chun family. A good-looking, middle-aged god man descended from the sky. His body twinkled, but his eyes were filled with cold and malignant intent. In his eyes, the Chun family was like the low cattle he had. He could kill them or play with them as he pleased. He did it all the time. He was the member of the noble Bradley family, the elite force that led the 12 families of the God clan. As he couldn't stay in his homeland to enjoy his wealth, but this isolated, rural area, if he couldn't amuse himself here with those low warriors, what should he do to entertain his boring life? Avatar came harshly. The lightning beams crawled on his body. He pulled out 12 massive electrical dragons and connected to his ethereal extent. They all stormed over savagely and attempted to kill Chinrong and Chan Yen. Under the terrifying energy of the 12 electrical dragons, Chinrong and Chin Yen were shaken. They discolored in fear. Although they were all at third sky of the ethereal god realm, Chinrong now realized the difference between him and Avatar. They weren't at the same level regarding energy accumulation. He was so bitter as he knew that even if they were at the same realm, the warriors from the 4 great clans always had an innate advantages. Chenrong felt so dismal. Chapter 1295, A Blood-Reeking Journey. Chapter 1295, A Blood-Reeking Journey, _ Avatar descended from the sky. His 12 electric dragons roared and stormed out, releasing scorching heat that covered Chenrong and Qinyan. Inside that wild electric current, Qinyan shivered. He used the wood power Upanishad to pull the ancient trees together and shield himself. Chenrong cultivated wind power Upanishad. He gazed at Avatar, his energy flying out of his eyes. Hundreds of wind blades appeared in the void of Heaven Cloud Star. They came massively, like daggers covering the sky that attempted to crush Avatar. Unfortunately, Avatar was wearing the excellent armor of the God Clan. The light rolled torrentially on his armor and created layers of light to stop Chenrong's wind blades. Avatar was the warrior of the Bradley family, so he had many good weapons. Many materials that the Bradley family had robbed from the star areas were used to create many good items that were distributed back to the warriors of the family. Although Avatar had only 3rd sky of ethereal god realm, he had many secret treasures. Chenrong could never be compared to him in this aspect. Avatar's armor had neutralized all the wind blades from Chenrong. The 12 electric dragons swarmed over the trees Qinyan had grown and exploded them. When the big trees were blown off, Qinyan spurted out blood. His smoking body was revealed in the middle of the wood pieces. His face paled and his eyes were filled with deep resentment. He said coldly, "Avatar, even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go." Avatar sneered, "Then I will leave you no chance of even becoming a ghost." While he was talking, the wind shield on Chenrong's body exploded. The dragons then slashed his body. Although both of them were at the same realm, Avatar had always had the upper hand. Chenrong was much weaker in any aspect, including the power Upanishad understanding, the god power, and the level of secret treasures. He finally understood why Right had sent only Avatar, a warrior at the same realm as him, to be based on Heaven Cloud Star. Right knew that Avatar could subdue the Chen family by himself. When he recognized this sad fact, he knew that it was too late. The doomsday of the Qin family was going to come soon. "Do you really think that we couldn't find any other slaves to exploit the mine besides your Qin family warriors?" Avatar sneered. "Well, to tell you the truth, our Bradley family is going to invade another star area. We will have a lot of mine slaves then. If you don't behave, you will disappear, just like the Thunder Firmament League. First, I will bathe the Heaven Cloud Star in blood. Then, I will order my troopers to kill all the slaves on the mineral stars." Chenrong's face was filled with desperation. Qinyan gawked. Now he recognized that an impulsive action without power would only bring their family a deadly disaster. Unfortunately, there was no solution to this regret. He knew the Qin family was coming to an end now. "Save my brother! Please hurry! Save my brother!" A voice that shouldn't be here came from the sky and expressed its owner's worries. Chenrong was baffled. His face became grimaced as he thundered, "Chenlei, move! Go away!" To this sister he had always regretted. When the family was about to be destroyed, he wasn't happy to hear his sister's voice. He felt so chilled, as if he had just fallen into a dark abyss. "Save my brother, please!" Chenlei's voice arose one more time. Then gold beetle war chariots appeared from the layers of clouds in the sky. "Oh well, good then. I can kill you all. I don't need to order the others." Avatar laughed, his eyes scanning Chenlei's body. He was shocked when he saw Ouyang Luoshuang standing behind Chenlei on the gold beetle war chariot. His eyes became so hot. It was also the last time his eyes became bright. Immediately, Shi Yan landed like a sharp sword and thrust it into his head. He thrust it into the man's head. One hand of his stabbed through Avatar's skull, grabbing his brains and urging his devouring power Upanishad. Then the others could see Avatar's body wither terrifyingly as if a pump machine was sucking his blood and flesh. Shortly after, he had only a skin bag covering his skeleton. Shi Yen retracted his hand, and Avatars remained scattered like dust gone with the wind. The warriors of the Chun family on the gold beetle war chariots were frightened. Shivers were sent down their spines. Shi Yen licked his lips as if he wasn't satisfied yet. He mumbled, "Oh, turns out it works this way too. I was too afraid that I would be discovered, so I haven't tried all the abilities of devouring power yet." He released his soul consciousness to look around. Throwing a glance at the mountain where the holy land of the Chun family was situated, he grinned. After one step, he disappeared. Ouyang Luo Shuang didn't want to go with him, and she didn't even throw a glance at the mountain. He is. Chenrong was bewildered. He sounded terrified. He's the man on the drawing. Chunlei nodded. At the same time, the painful and horrible screeching arose from the mountain. They then saw that the warriors of the God clan, who they hated to the bone, were trying their best to run away from the mountain. When Chenrong turned around to see, they found a layer of blood covering the entire mountain. They could hear the screeching and screaming from the warriors there, but they couldn't see what was going on there. What's going on? Chenrong stammered. Before we came here, we were in the mineral stars. There's no god warrior guarding this place anymore, explained Chenlei. Chenrong and Chun Yen were frightened. After several minutes, Shi Yen returned, and he had changed into another black costume. He strolled toward them, shaking his hands that had the dark blood stains. He came to Chenlei and Chenrong and said, "Is there any god warrior left in Heaven Cloud Star?" Chenrong shook his head. Shi Yen frowned and said, "Where's the nearest spot that the god clan warriors can gather? How is their scale? Is there any incipient god realm expert?" "Yes, there's an incipient god realm expert guarding Heaven Wind Star near here," said Chenrong hurriedly. "Which direction?" "East." "Very well." Shi Yen turned to Ouyang Luo Shuang. Contemplating for a while, he said, "My power is recovered sufficiently. You don't need to go with me anymore. If you have stuff to do, you can leave now." "I don't know where the sea territory is," Ouyang Luo Shuang said faintly. "Have you ever thought about returning to Grace Mainland? Perhaps you don't know, but it's very different now. It can be compared to any high-level life star," Shi Yen said after pondering. Ouyang Luo Shuang was surprised. Her eyebrows twitched. Then she said, "I will absolutely return. It's my homeland, but not now. My teacher treats me well. I must meet him at least. We have to talk. What you want to do now?" "I'm not hurried. Wait until you find the sea territory. You will take me there directly. It saves my energy." "Okay, you should come and wait for me on the mineral star." "All right, you should go there directly." Shi Yen spread his arms. The starlight appeared in his hands, and he sketched a magical space teleport formation. With his god power, he created a spatial door. The other side of the door was the mineral star of the Chun family. Ouyang Luo Shuang didn't doubt him. She directly walked through the door. Shi Yen felt warm. He turned to Chenlei. "I'm not going to return to Heaven Cloud Star, but that mineral star. This door will last for one day. If you want to leave, you should prepare. You can use this door to go to that mineral star." Then he turned into a starlight beam, flying east. His journey as a god of slaughter began from here, and he had terrified the entire Thunder Firmament Star area. "Who is he? Why did he help us?" Chenrong looked at Chenlei after Shi Yen had left, his face bewildered. "I don't know." Chenlei shook her head. "Madame Lei made an excellent decision. She stopped us from reporting to Right. She had approached these two and given our Qin family the light of hope." Qin De Qiao appraised then narrated the story. Right sent the news to the entire sea of stars. He asked the forces under his management to find that man. I think he's not an ordinary warrior. Maybe the dismal life of our Qin family is about to over. Qin Rong's eyes brightened. Then he said, "Tell the family members to prepare. We will leave this place. We will have a better environment to live." "Sure." Cloud Thunder Star in Thunder Firmament Star area was a famous market in the entire star area. The warriors of the forces in the area often came here to trade. They were from different and complicated echelons. "Did you hear the news?" "Haven't you gotten the news?" "Oh, yeah. A slaughtering god has come here to kill only the God Clan warriors." "I heard that many warriors of the God Clan were killed. There's no god warrior in the adjacent areas. 3 incipient god realm experts and several hundred ethereal god realm and original god realm were killed altogether. This man has erased some bases of the Bradley family too." Similar conversations were heard on the streets, in the restaurants, and in many secret chambers on Cloud Thunder Star. Many native forces of Thunder Firmament Star area had heard this big commotion of their star area through their private channels. A young man from the world out there had come and massacred the God Clan warriors who had enslaved them for a long time in Thunder Firmament Star area. They received the news of the God Clan warriors getting killed almost every day and of this god of slaughter. In a secret chamber of Cloud Thunder Star, several elderly warriors were meeting up, their faces grave. This chamber was protected by many layers of barriers that even a fly couldn't escape. They were the representatives of the native forces in Thunder Firmament Star area, the vassals of the God Clan. They were the ones with a good sense of who had been subdued by the Bradley family for so many years. Today, they were meeting up because of a person. "What do you think?" The oldest warrior of the group asked and didn't look at the others. "Old Lei, it's your opinion that matters in this event. That year, you were the deputy hegemon of the Thunder Firmament League. We will listen to you." The others had their eyes brighten. "Don't mention that. The Thunder Firmament League is gone. I'm not Lei Bao. I'm Lei Dong now. Guys, you should walk on your path. We know who he is now. He's the new master of the bloodthirsty force, the future overlord that can resist the God Clan. The Bradleys couldn't compare to him. If we get his favor, we will have hope." The old man called Lei Dong had second sky of incipient god realm, and he cultivated lightning power Upanishad. After the Thunder Firmament League was destroyed, he had changed his name and hidden. He discreetly worked and didn't dare to provoke right. "We've put up with enough. If we have hope, we will agree to try once more." "I agree." "Sure thing." Chapter 1296, Human Head Feast. Chapter 1296, Human Head Feast, _ on an isolated dead star, south of Cloud Thunder Star. The gray, rocky ground exploded all of a sudden. A sturdy figure appeared, his eyes sparkling with a holy light that was like electricity. Shi Yen looked at Cloud Thunder Star and frowned. After he had left Heaven Cloud Star, he had begun his journey of slaughter, killing all the God Clan warriors in his way, including 3 first sky of incipient God Realm experts, hundreds of ethereal God Realm, original God Realm, and King God Realm warriors. Their deaths had made up the energy he had consumed in the fantasy zone, and it was a little bit more than needed. After this time of carefree and cheerful slaughter, he accumulated a deeper knowledge of the devouring power Upanishad's abilities. Finally, he knew that the devouring power Upanishad took more than the essence chi of the dead warriors. What this power Upanishad swallowed was power, all kinds of power from any kind of creatures. It could take their energy and convert it to the pure energy. Shi Yen could take the energy from the body, the stars, the 5 elements, the energies that created the warriors' power Upanishads, and more. While the others were still alive, Shi Yen could use the devouring power Upanishad all the time. He didn't even need to wait until the others died. Anyway, after the warriors died, their energy slowly reduced. He could take more energy when the others were still alive. The black hole was another application of the devouring power Upanishad that swallowed the souls. It was specialized in taking in the soul altar to create soul energy and refine the soul altar. It could help transform the soul altar and develop it until it reached a marvelous level. Perhaps it had the similar effect as the way Imperial Dark Tribe used to train their soul altars. But Shi Yen thought it was more excellent. Shi Yen had been wild and crazy on his slaughtering journey in Thunder Firmament Star area, and had helped him discover the real abilities of the devouring power Upanishad. However, he hadn't reached second sky of incipient God realm yet. He still needed more energy to grow his God power ancient tree. He needed more energy indeed. The energy converted from 3 incipient God realm experts, hundreds of ethereal God realm, original God realm, and King God realm experts refilled his exhausted energy, but wasn't enough to break to second sky of incipient God realm. In this journey, he found that the native forces in Thunder Firmament Star area had always cooperated with him, just like the Qin family. They had pointed out the gathering spot of the God clan warriors and gave him the details of their realms and numbers. Sure, Yen got the necessary information to prepare every time. After this experience, Shi Yen recognized that people hated the Bradley family a lot in Thunder Firmament Star area. Although they were subdued, they didn't want to follow them. As soon as they found the chance to attack the God clan, they became even more excited than Shi Yen. And it was because of their cooperative attitude that Shi Yen could carry out his plan smoothly. Today, he headed to Thunder Firmament Lake. He was ready to take Right's head to break through to second sky of incipient God realm. However, he wasn't so sure that it would be easy today when he came to Thunder Firmament Lake. Thus, he didn't dare to act rashly. He decided to stop by Cloud Thunder Star, first to check the situation. As soon as his thought flickered, he landed on Cloud Thunder Star. Shortly after, he appeared in the center of the Thunder City. He closed his eyes to let his soul consciousness check the place. No God clan warrior was found. Cloud Thunder Star also had the God clan warriors base here, but Wright had asked them to come back because of Shi Yan's mad slaughter. It was also the reason why Shi Yan had to change his thought. He had to go to the headquarters of the God clan in Thunder Firmament Star area, Thunder Firmament Lake. Many warriors from different planets around Thunder Firmament Star area often came to Thunder City. The shops in this city were always packed. Shi Yen concentrated on listening. He found that most of the conversations here were about him. They called him by various names, including God of Slaughter, Slaughtering Star, and the Butcher who slashes the God clan. When they talked about him, they looked happy and joyful. They didn't even want to conceal their amusement taken from the God clan's misfortune. Shi Yen nodded discreetly. Walking along the street, he knew that Wright of the Bradley family had done many evil affairs in the Star area. He made people hate that they couldn't plow his ancestors' graves. Wright could live indulgently in this Star area because of the God clan's reputation. Otherwise, he would have been killed a long time ago. Shi Yen knew that because he knew that Thunder Firmament Star area also had third sky of incipient God realm experts from the conversations of the people on the streets. However, those experts weren't in Thunder Firmament Star area because they were afraid of the God clan. Inside Thunder City, people moved back and forth like water currents. They were talking about Shi Yen on the streets, in the shops, and even in the restaurants. He pondered for a while, smiling and sitting on a random spot in the big square of the Thunder City. As soon as his thoughts flickered, the items stored in his incipient extent flew out and arranged above his head. Shortly after, screaming and shrieking arose on the square. Many warriors around the square looked at him. They were so excited. The human heads floating above his head were from the God clan warriors, and many of them were infamous in Thunder Firmament Star area as the leaders guarding some important regions. People hated them a lot, though. This was especially the case for the 3 heads of the 3 incipient God realm experts. The warriors here had met them before. Seeing their heads floating in the sky, the majority of warriors on the streets and in the shops cheered crazily as if they were celebrating the new year. Instantly the city was boiling. The warriors in Thunder City came when they heard the cheering. They stopped their works and gathered at the square. From a bird's view, they were packing the square like a cloud of grasshoppers. With Sher Yen as the center, the warriors from different clans circled him in layers. They pointed at Sher Yen and shrieked. They looked so happy and satisfied. Hundreds of god warriors' heads floated above Sher Yan's head. The warriors gathering in the square felt like they had a refreshing stream running through their hearts that washed away the resentment that had tortured them for so many years. When they saw the heads, they knew they were liberated. Many senior people and women began to cry and sob. It seemed like they couldn't control their joy as they cried when their enemies were killed and their grudges were clear. The great chaos in Thunder City had affected the meeting in the secret chamber. Lei Dong squinted and listened to his subordinate's report. His eyes brightened. He abruptly stood up and said he came. He shows off the heads of the God Clan warriors to prove his identity. He comes to Cloud Thunderstar and Thunder City to find us. Old Lei, what should we do now? Asked the others. If he has considered us, we shouldn't be cowards anymore. All right, I will send the soul consciousness to invite him here to talk, said Lei Dong. Everybody nodded in agreement. Lei Dong closed his eyes and released his soul consciousness toward Sher Yen. Staying inside the circles of dozens of thousands of warriors on Thunder Firmament Star area, Sher Yen just stooped and said nothing. He was waiting for the invitation from the rebellious group who dared to stand against the God Clan. The heads of the God Clan warriors here were Sher Yen's gift to them to show his goodwill. Indeed, a magical light flashed, then disappeared into his eyes. At the same time, the heads of the God Clan experts floating in the sky exploded, turning into dust and scattering around Thunder City. The crowd of warriors of Thunder Firmament Star area cheered happily like they were celebrating the new year. They threw their hands into the air, hugging and congratulating each other. In the secret chamber of Thunder City, Sher Yen appeared all of a sudden, sitting next to Lei Dong. He squinted and asked, "Did you call me?" Lei Dong was startled. He jolted up and said respectfully, "Lei Dong welcomed the master of the bloodthirsty force." The others were still sitting, so they were baffled to see Lei Dong greeting the guest. They immediately followed him and stood up to greet Sher Yen as Lei Dong had done. "Welcome, master of the bloodthirsty force." Sher Yen rose his arms, his face casual. "No need to be too serious. Please sit down." Everybody then sat down. "You are Lei Bao, right? I used to hear about you. You were the deputy hegemon of Thunder Firmament League. Because the League was destroyed, you don't have the power to resist against the God Clan. Then you've begun to seclude. Is it true?" Sher Yen talked calmly. Lei Dong nodded and said, "I'm called Lei Dong now. I didn't expect that you have heard about me, sir. It's my honor. Right? It doesn't matter with the name as long as you don't forget your past." Sher Yen curled his lips and asked, "You called me here not to tell me that you've changed your name, right? Okay, tell me what you think." "Sir, you came Cloud Thunderstar to find me. I wonder what you want me to do. As long as I can do it, I will do my best. I just hope you would agree with me on one thing." Lei Dong looked at Sher Yen deeply. "Agree with me to expel all the God Clan warriors from our Thunder Firmament Star area. As long as you agree with that, I can die for you." "Old Lei! Old Lei! Old Lei!" The others discolored as they couldn't believe it. Lei Dong waved his hand and said, "For the future of Thunder Firmament Star area, I can pay with everything. It's not that I'm afraid of death. I just want a brighter future for Thunder Firmament Star area. Today, if Master agrees with me, our Thunder Firmament Star area will have that future. My life is in your hand." Hearing him, the other leaders of the forces who were still hesitant felt their hearts stimulate. They were so touched, and their eyes became more resolute. Shi Yan was surprised. He looked at Lei Dong, nodded, and then said, "I agree with you." Before Shi Yan came here, he didn't think that Lei Dong would be that resolute because he thought that an old man who had to live and seclude to hide himself from the God clan was like a cunning rat and wouldn't dare to stand up against the God clan. Shi Yan knew that he was wrong. Looking at Lei Dong's fierce reaction, he was surprised and touched. "What do you want me to do? Please do tell. If this Lei Dong can help you, I will do my best. Even if I have to die, I will make everything all right for you," said Lei Dong resolutely. "I don't need you to die. What I want is simple. I want to know what kind of experts are staying in Thunder Firmament Lake. Have they sent any new expert there or not?" Explained Shi Yan. "Oh, simple. They've just sent 2 second sky of incipient God realm experts. However, the sea territory of our Thunder Firmament Star area has encountered some problem. After those 2 arrived, the sea territory has become turbulent and the passages became ineffective at the same time. I think there are no God clan warriors who will come later. Rick got a headache because of this. I heard that another incipient God realm warrior wanted to come, but he was stopped outside," Lei Dong said, his face puzzled. Shi Yan's eyes brightened up as he laughed. He knew someone had his back and erased the rising obstacles. Chapter 1297. Rush to the Tiger's Denver. Chapter 1297. Rush to the Tiger's Denver _ Carefree was gazing at a space passage in one of the 7 sea territories of the ancient God Star area, his face dark and sinister. Elders Feng Ju and Spark stood by him and lowered their heads, their visages begrudging. Carefree looked at the space passage leading to Thunder Firmament Star area. Until now, the Bradley family of the God clan usually used that passage to get to Thunder Firmament Star area to transport the huge amount of precious materials exploited there. This passage was the door connecting to Thunder Firmament Star area. After DeCarlos had told Carefree where he had delivered Shi Yan, Carefree immediately contacted the Elder Committee and told them Shi Yan's whereabouts. The Elder Committee immediately sent 2 second sky of incipient God realm experts to Thunder Firmament Star area to stabilize the situation first and stay there to wait for Carefree. However, when Carefree came, he found that the space passage was closed. He couldn't enter Thunder Firmament Star area. Not only that, Carefree found that all the teleport formations that led to Thunder Firmament Star area were deactivated. The doors leading to Thunder Firmament Star area were all sealed, and they couldn't open no matter how hard they tried. Carefree understood clearly that not many experts could do such a thing in this big universe. Not many experts could seal an entire star area. DeCarlos. Carefree looked at the dark and deep space passage and hissed, his eyes filled with the flame of anger. A man holding a flaming red wine bottle descended from the sky. He didn't mind his manners and took a swig. Drops of transparent wine stuck on his beards. Carefree, DeCarlos has outwitted you. He has plotted against you when he told you the kid's whereabouts. That man was the Heavenly King Light. Carefree threw him a glance and said, "Although you and I don't cultivate space power Upanishad, we can tear the seal in Thunder Firmament Star area when we join hands." Heavenly King Light shook his head and waved his hands. "Nah, not good. If we fail, the chaotic space current will swallow Thunder Firmament Star area. All creatures living there will perish instantly." "Oh, well, since when did you mind others' lives like that?" Carefree squinted. "Of course you won't mind." Heavenly King Light snorted. "The Bradley family warriors are in Thunder Firmament Star area. As I'm a member of the Bradley family, I will not let my later generations fall into destruction because of my deeds. My family isn't as big as the others. If we lose one, our number will reduce by 1. It's not worth sacrificing many warriors of my family because of your disciple. Perhaps that kid is slaughtering your Bradley family warriors in Thunder Firmament Star area. When Thunder Firmament Star area opens one more time, I'm afraid that the warriors of your family will all be killed, sneered Carefree. He has just first sky of incipient God realm cultivation base. Currently, Thunder Firmament Star area has 3 second sky of incipient God realm experts from our Bradley family and more than 1,000 warriors from the elite force. I don't think he can dance happily there. Heavenly King Light Grin turned to a big smile. Carefree, you should worry about your disciple then. You've underestimated him. This young man is the successor of that man. You will regret because of your impulsive assumption, hissed Carefree. Heavenly King Light burst out laughing. He has the devouring power, Upanishad, not that power. Why do we need to be afraid of him? If he has that power, let alone breaking the barrier around Thunder Firmament Star area, even if we have to break several star areas to kill him, it will be worth it. But now it isn't worth it to take it seriously. I said you will regret it. Wait and see. Carefree shook his head. His face looked cold, but he didn't say anything else. Heavenly King Light didn't keep it in his mind. Don't talk about him. It's a really long time since we last met. Today, as we finally unite in the ancestral land, if we aren't drunk yet, we won't go home. Then he pulled Carefree away and didn't even care about Elder Feng Ju and Spark. They stepped on the void and slowly disappeared. Thunder Firmament Star area had a strange land that was the intersection of several outer space rivers. This place was Thunder Firmament Lake, where there were a cold iceberg and the earth and heaven energy was thickest. The special lightning generated here was really helpful to the warriors with the respective power Upanishads. The Thunder Firmament Lake was a real holy land, though. Right cultivated lightning power Upanishad. His palace was situated right above the meteorite with the heavenly lake. His palace was so imposing and luxurious with many mysterious murals of the god clan. They built this palace with countless jades and divine crystals. From a distance, the palace sparkled with rainbow light and showed its beautiful and precious value. The mysterious heavenly lake was in the middle of many palaces. Right now, Wright and 2 other god experts were soaking in the lake and relaxing. Hundreds of women from different races, with various kinds of beauty, like sexiness, innocence, purity, or maturity, were wearing flimsy clothes and a bell on their collars to show their wonderful features surrounded the 3 experts in the lake. They were trying to attract them and earn their favors. The women held fruits and wine trays. They served the other 3 carefully. The god clan warriors stood on the watching tower by the heavenly lake, their faces stern as they tried their best to protect the place. Low maid, you're not pure. You humiliate me. Wright looked at a ghost mark woman, bellowing with a savage face. The snow-white body of the ghost mark woman was decorated with delicate purple drawings that made her mysteriously beautiful. Wright was interested in her purple tattooed body, so he had abducted her here. Today he didn't have a good mood, so those tattoos were like a thorn in his eyes. He wanted to trouble her just to vent out his anger. Master, before I came here, I'd washed my body thrice. I was born with purple tattoos. Please don't be angry. The ghost mark woman was so scared. She kneeled down and begged pathetically. You dare to talk back to me? You don't want to live anymore. Wright thundered and spurted out a lightning ball that covered the woman. At that moment, her beautiful body was reduced to ashes, and the lightning also buried her soul. The pretty maids nearby felt shivers sent down their spines. They were so frightened. They acted more carefully as they were afraid that Wright would kill them for no reason like that. Recently, dozens of people were killed in Wright's hands. People were slaughtered almost every day. The maids here had to live in fear. The other 2 experts just grinned and watched Wright killing people. In their eyes, besides the members of their clan, the other warriors from the other races were just low people. They acted like when people didn't care about whether insects could survive or not. It was their naturally arrogant characteristic that was rooted in their values for a long time. "Hey bro, you got bad news again." Cook was eating a bunch of some kind of sparkling fruits. That new master of the bloodthirsty force is just a puppet they made stand up that the three chiefs could control easily. "What are you worried about?" Jeremy asked surprisedly. "I just got the news. He came to Cloud Thunderstar. He had stacked my subordinates' heads in Thunder City. It's a naked provocation that I can't stand," said Wright indignantly. Cook was amazed. He shook his head. The bloodthirsty force's master of this generation is impulsive, but it's no use to do that. Will the warriors in Thunder Firmament Star area stand against us now? His eyes became cold as he sneered. "Well, they haven't been scared enough to see their own kinds getting killed throughout these years. Recently, my family has just taken down a new star area. Although it doesn't have any significant natural resources, it has a lot of warriors that we can use. If the experts of Thunder Firmament Star area dare to resist against us, we can obliterate them one more time. After that, I think they will be content to their lot," said Jeremy. "I just want to find that kid and kill him now." Wright grunted. "It's not easy to look for a person in a vast star area like this. We're not those old monsters that could use their soul consciousness to check the entire star area." Cook shook his head. "Oh, don't you think it's strange? After we've arrived here, the space passage closed. Heavenly King should have been here already, but he hadn't shown up yet. I think it's because of the strange condition of the space passage." The three continued to talk and drink in the lake. However, the cunning Wright was still outraged. All of a sudden, narrow light appeared in the mysterious void above their heads. That light flashed and sent the turbulent spatial energy. Wright, Cook, and Jeremy lifted their heads to look at that streak of light in the sky, their faces becoming grave. They swayed and flew out of the lake. Right after that, 3 sets of exquisite armor appeared on their bodies and lingered perfectly to show their extraordinary powerful features. "Who's that?" shouted Wright. The streak of light twisted and changed. It widened and became a crack. Some people walked out of the crack and appeared above Wright's head. Wright grinned. "Lei Dong, Jifeng Harmon, you don't want to live anymore? You dare to intrude my place without permission?" Lei Dong, Jifeng, and Harmon were the leaders who Yen had met at the secret underground chamber underground in Thunder City. Lei Dong nodded and smiled, his eyes steadfast. "Oh, yeah, we don't want to live anymore. We're here today to risk our lives." He turned around to see Yen. He asked, "Sir, the information I gave you isn't wrong, is it?" Yen gave him a slight nod. He didn't expect Lei Dong, Jifeng, and Harmon to come here, but they were so persistent. In this group of 3, only Lei Dong had second sky of incipient god realm, which was enough to play with the others once. Jifeng and Harmon had only first sky of incipient god realm, so their presence here could only bring a limited effect. However, they came with a fixation that Yen didn't understand. Before they came here, they had even arranged for their deaths. Evidently, they had prepared for the worst situation. "Sir." Wright was surprised. Then he burst out laughing like crazy. "You're that kid, right? Haha, it's good then. I've been searching for you for a long time. I didn't expect that you would turn yourself in like this." Cook and Jeremy wore cold faces, their lines of sight shifting from Lei Dong, Jifeng, and Harmon to Yen. "From now on, Thunder Firmament Star area will have a new master. I will use the death of you 3 to exchange for a new life to this star area." Yen looked at them and said indifferently. Chapter 1298, 1 verses. 2. Chapter 1298, 1 verses. 2 underscore. Thunder Firmament Star area will change its master? Mwahahaha. You think you're Xian, he or Ming Hao. You think you're the real master of bloodthirsty force? Right grinned and opened his arms. Lightning beams appeared in his palms and became a lightning python that was thousands of meters long. It attacked Shi Yan grumblingly. Sir, allow me! Lei Dong lowered his voice, shouting and stepping forward. His sleeves shivered. Thousands of silver balls rolled out and brought earth-shaking lightning power to encounter the electric python. When they collided, lightning bolts shot out everywhere. The grumbling thunder shook the entire sky as if the sky was about to fall. Lei Dong used to be the deputy hegemon of Thunder Firmament League. He also cultivated lightning and thunder power at the same realm as Right. He had to change his name and live in seclusion, but it wasn't because of Right. It was because he was afraid of the Bradley family and the God clan behind Right that could utterly destroy Thunder Firmament League and Thunder Firmament Star area. Today, as he got Shi Yan's promise, he had finally erased his fear and worries. Finally, he dared to stand up and yell his real name. Right, I'm telling you. I'm the Lei Bao you've wanted to find. Oh, turns out you're that fish. Right grinned after the time of being baffled. It's very good indeed. As long as you die, Thunder Firmament League will have no spark anymore, and this Thunder Firmament Star area will quiet down. I will set you off. Ji Feng and Harmon made up their mind upon hearing Right. They wanted to attack him immediately. Your opponents are the people over there. Sure, Yen walked and stood in front of them, pointing at the guards of the God clan on the watching tower. Ji Feng and Harmon were so surprised. They were ready to die and to fight Right and the 2-second sky of incipient God realm experts. They had prepared to die for Shi Yan. They could pay with their soul altars exploding to help Shi Yan damage Right's team. At the critical time, Shi Yan had baffled them by saying that. It's enough as you have the will to do that, Shi Yan smiled, patted their shoulders, and strode toward Cook and Jeremy. He touched his glabella. 2 bloodlights shot out from his incipient extent and turned into a sword and a shield. Both of them were as red as blood. The eyes on the bloody sword opened and looked at Cook and Jeremy. At that moment, Cook and Jeremy were covered in an endless blood sea. They seemed to see piles of skeletons that had fixed their souls and shaken them hard. It was the evil that had attacked the deep place in their souls. Although Cook and Jeremy were at second sky of incipient God realm, their minds were shaken instantly. They felt their blood burn by the fiery flame. Their calm and cold faces were gone. Cut the confused mind. Cook's pupils turned dark blue immediately as he hissed. Right after that, a cold light came from the sky and cut off the evil thought in his heart. He immediately regained his calmness. A cold, sharp peak appeared at his glabella and extended unceasingly. It turned into a crystal-clear ice mountain that was 10,000 meters tall and 100 of mu wide. The cold light emitted from the mountain with the power of ice. It spun and released countless light beams that bombarded Shi Yan. Cook regained his consciousness. Jeremy was awakened up by the cold air. A burning flame mark appeared on his forehead and began to release the terrifying heat. Shortly after, Jeremy was covered in that flame. He turned into a burning flame with a powerful heat. Strangely and magically, his heat was matched with Cook's ice, and it gave Shi Yan more pressure. Ice and fire purgatory. Cook and Jeremy bellowed. The cold peak suddenly flew up and was placed above the fire. They created a layer of cold and heat energy, flashing and taking turns to appear. It felt like the purgatory with endless torment. Ji Feng and Harmon weren't far from Shi Yan. The shock waves of the cold and scorching energies had taken turns to attack them. Their faces turned red and pale alternatively as their bodies felt so chilled and boiled at the same time. Their god power became chaotic and their soul altars were extremely unstable. Cook and Jeremy had joined hands and used a special method to fuse the extremely cold and hot power Upanishads. Their combined attack could affect the other's god power and soul altars. It immediately subdued the others and made them not able to use their real powers. Ji Feng and Harmon were at first sky of incipient God realm. Under the joint attack of the 2-second sky of incipient God realm, they were helter-skelter, so they had to retreat, their faces fearful. Now, they finally recognized the difference between their realms. It was like an abyss that they could hardly cross. It made them feel helpless. They were shaken when they remembered that they weren't Cook and Jeremy's target. They had just been affected. They then looked at Shi Yan, the real target of the other two. Ji Feng and Harmon were bewildered. Under their gaze, Shi Yan stood still like a 10,000-year-old rock. He stood imposingly under the bombarding cold light. The icy lights shot rapidly at him like a shower of arrows. However, he had a shield to block them. Magically, those ice lights weren't shattered. They melted into a cloud blood mark in the middle of the shield. Shi Yan seemed to not be affected by the extremely cold and hot ice and fire purgatory. With the bloody sword in his hand, he quickly turned into his immortal demon body, the fighting mode of the immortal demon warriors. The energy fluctuations on his body increased massively. Ji Feng and Harmon found that Shi Yan's energy had surpassed theirs and wasn't less than Cook and Jeremy's. See, he's the new master of the bloodthirsty force. He's not someone we can foresee. Ji Feng complimented and then said to Harmon, "We should listen to his suggestion and help him clear those people there. Just let him handle that tough trunk." "I think so," Harmon nodded. They immediately changed their targets. They scattered and attacked the God Clan guards. For the time being, Thunder Firmament Lake was so chaotic. The beauties with the dog collars had to run away and try to find the exit to escape. The battle taken place in Thunder Firmament Lake wasn't something that they could stand. Only a shock wave was enough to burn them into ashes instantly. The two cold and hot energies attacked Shi Yan like waves in the sea and hit his body brutally. Shi Yan stood still. In the space crack, he had known the real power of the bloody sword and the bloody shield through the ring spirit. Since then, his competence increased one level. After the recent slaughter, Shi Yan got used to using the sword and the shield. With the marvelous abilities of his 3 power Upanishads and different explosive energies, he dared to challenge the 3 incipient God realm experts. He was confident that he could kill them all. "Today, I'll borrow your energy to reach a new height." Shi Yan's eyes became as red as blood. His thoughts flickered, and the bloody shield had turned into many clusters of blood clouds, fusing perfectly with his immortal demon body. The immortal demon blood in his body boiled as it was activated altogether. Instantly, Shi Yan got endless power. Touching his forehead, a brilliant band of starlight moved out of his glabella. The others could see the blood light moving inside that magnificent starlight band. It looked like a star river now had the blood veins like a human body, which was extremely strange indeed. The star river flew out and aimed at Cook and Jeremy. However, it slowly disappeared in midair, and Cook and Jeremy couldn't locate it with their soul consciousness. Abruptly, it became clear. This time, when it emerged, the starlight band thrust into the ice peak that Cook had created like a sharp knife. It came with the sharpness of space power Upanishad. Crack, crack, crack. The gigantic ice peak shattered and broke into millions of ice pieces at different sizes after the sharp star river struck it. The pieces then disappeared into Cook's body. "How can you have such terrifying power?" The armor on Cook's undying god body cracked and broke. He had many cuts on his body, as if many pairs of scissors had just cut him. "Well, without such power, how could I dare to challenge the 3 of you?" Shi Yan grinned fiendishly and turned into a meteor light that fell on Jeremy's fire. "Don't you know that I'm fused with the ancient continent origin? Why do you dare to play with fire in front of me?" Sure, Yin opened his mouth to spray different colored flames. They hovered like lanterns around him. As soon as flames emerged, the distinctive auras of the heaven flames diffused while Jeremy's flame shrank rapidly. It was like a low-level creature that instinctively avoided the high-level creature. Ice and fire fusion. Cook and Jeremy changed their countenances. After exchanging looks, they shouted in unison. The ice pieces Cook had taken in were shelled out of his body like cannonballs falling into Jeremy's fireball. Although it had received the ice, the fire wasn't extinguished. Quite the contrary, an unknown power was generated with the terrifying, turbulent energy fluctuations. After Cook and Jeremy had performed this joint power Upanishad, they looked restless and anxious as if they were afraid of some sudden trouble. Apparently, they hadn't mastered this collective power Upanishad yet. If they weren't in a reluctant situation, they wouldn't have used it. The fireball ballooned after receiving the ice pieces. It looked like a big hot air balloon that was about to explode. The energy fluctuations from the fireball were so formidable. It was like an entire life star that was about to explode. Sure, Yin changed his visage for the first time and gave his compliments. Ice and fire aren't supposed to be together. You're really talented that you can make it to this level. However, it's not perfect. The fusion happened too slowly, and you guys aren't strong enough to control it. Shuryan urged his soul altar and charged the power Upanishad. His starlight band now magically turned into a space crack that affected the ballooning fireball. Suddenly, a space energy that didn't belong to Shuryan strangely came over and changed his star river. A space passage appeared inside Shuryan's starlight band with a suction force that cooperated well with Shuryan's thought. The fireball that could explode at any minute was pulled into the star river, and it teleported to an unknown area. Cook and Jeremy immediately lost the connection with the fireball. Half of the god power in their bodies was used. They discolored, and their faces looked like the color of the earth as they were so frightened. It was clear that they had more bad luck than good luck this time. Chapter 1299. One is enough. Chapter 1299. One is enough. Cook and Jeremy had their soul altars become weak because of the tremendous amount of god power that was used. The attack they had squeezed their power to create was dragged into the void and then disappeared. It had struck them hard indeed. They retracted their hands, their eyes sparkling. They had a new idea. They were both members of the Bradley family with a noble status. They were here to help Wright stabilize the situation. Right now, when things went wrong, they decided to ditch Wright and leave this perilous land. Their eyes flashed lights when they exchanged looks and glanced at Wright. Wright and Lei Dong cultivated lightning and thunder power Upanishad, but his body strength, energy, and innate talents were much more powerful because of the god clan's gifted advantages. Wright was using the undying god body to fight the enemy. He released the supernatural abilities of the thunder and lightning power Upanishad that were obviously one level stronger than Lei Dong. Even though they were both at second sky of incipient god realm, Lei Dong was in a dangerous situation. His lightning attacks turned to attack himself. The electric python was winding around him. When Cook and Jeremy saw Wright get the upper hand, they decided quickly. Cook said all of a sudden, "Wright, this kid is tough. Come here and fight with him. We'll help you deal with that one." Cook and Jeremy wanted to swap opponents with Wright. They wanted to throw the burning thing from Shuryan to Wright. Wright was surprised. He turned around, his face dark. "You two join hands, but you can't beat him? Don't you understand the order from the family?" He thought that Cook and Jeremy hadn't tried their best. Cook and Jeremy forced smiles. They turned into a flaming beam and an icy beam that flew toward Wright. Strangely, Shuryan didn't stop them. He stood by the heavenly lake. A magical light shot out from his pupils as he was gawking at the space slit that was slowly closing. He knew someone had helped him discreetly. That person had affected the space slit that Shi Yan created to guide the ice and fireball of Cook and Jeremy to another space. That person must be the dangerous expert that had brought Shi Yan here and sealed Thunder Firmament Star area. Sure, Yan didn't know what that person wanted. Seeing Cook and Jeremy sneak away, he released his soul consciousness to send a message. Precursor, what do you mean? He knew that Precursor should be around. Unfortunately, that one didn't answer him. The space slit he created closed. The space became smooth again. Inside the chaotic space basin, DeCarlos was making some magical hand seals by the place where the beams of light were congregating. The hand seal he created expanded rapidly. The massive light ball created by Cook's and Jeremy's fire and ice power was compressed. Shortly after, the big light ball was shrunk into a fist-sized crystal, which the fire and ice energy moving inside. It looked marvelous indeed. Formidable energy. It's a waste if I let it explode. DeCarlos grabbed the crystal and smiled contentedly. A space saber appeared in his eyes when he tore a space slit and looked in Shi Yan's direction. You have the devouring power, Upanishad. You're in need of energy. I won't give you this thing. He threw the ball away. The crystal maneuvered, moved through spaces and fell on an area. Dash. A small island in the endless sea, Grace Mainland. Xia Xan Yan's beautiful figure was sitting on a rock by the sea. Looking at the deep blue water, her beautiful eyes yearned. The images in her head changed continuously like the river of time moving fast from the past. The memories and the scenes between her and Shi Yan in more than 200 years were rewinding in her head. She seemed to control a sharp weapon that could move through time. Her soul could visit different times, or even go to the past. A crystal suddenly fell from the sky and landed on her hair bun. Then, like a drop of water, it quietly seeped into her head. She shivered and couldn't help but look at the sky. Her beautiful eyes were filled with inexplicable surprise. A flow of pure energy shot out from her energy. Quickly, her realm changed. Inside the chaotic space basin, DeCarlos' line of sight could get through layers of spaces to look at her, his eyes complicated. He mumbled to himself, space, time. At the same time, he heard the message from Shi Yan. However, he just chuckled and didn't answer. Ah, Thunder Firmament Star area. Shi Yan cut off the hope in his mind, his face resuming the usual coldness. He looked at Cook, Jeremy, and Wright, grinning fiendishly. He didn't worry that Cook and Jeremy could escape. Today, Thunder Firmament Star area was sealed like a locked steel cage. No one could get in or out. Under such a circumstance, who could avoid Shi Yan's attack? He was an expert with the space power Upanishad, though. Sir, please remember your promise. Lei Dong shouted. His soul altar was fierce like an erupting volcano. The god power in his body moved rapidly. Ji Feng and Harmon discolored and shouted, No! Shi Yan was shaken. He took action immediately. He moved swiftly through the distance and appeared directly behind Lei Dong. You've done so much for Thunder Firmament Star area. I don't need your sacrifice to kill them. He rose his hand and placed it on Lei Dong's back. The turbulent energy, fluctuations on Lei Dong's body calmed down. Sir, Lei Dong hissed, help me destroy those people here. Only I am enough to send Wright and the other two to heaven. Shi Yan grinned and swung the bloody sword in his hand. A blood rainbow shot across the starry sky. Shi Yan disappeared into that bloody rainbow. Old Lei let him deal with them. He can do that. Ji Feng screamed. Harmon also told him, a decent death isn't as good as continuing to live. You don't need to sacrifice your life. You've been sacrificed a lot for Thunder Firmament Star area. Lei Dong was baffled. He looked at the blood shadow, his eyes complex. Pondering for a while, he nodded and lowered his voice. Then my life will be saved for Thunder Firmament Star area, and you." He turned around, and his face became resolute as he began to attack the God Clan warriors together with Harmon and Ji-Fong. The warriors of the God Clan were Wright's troops. They didn't have the power to resist the other three. The God warriors' bodies exploded, and their souls flew out like mist. However, they didn't know that the deaths of those low-realm warriors were the best support for Shi Yan. Shi Yan had quietly absorbed the energy of those dead warriors and pulled it into the blood rainbow to create the blood soul sea. The different negative emotions, including fear, despair, brutality, and resentment, rose torrentially in the blood soul sea to intensify the evil of the sea. Sure, Yan enjoyed taking in the energy in there. Staying inside the blood sea, he had used the death power Upanishad smoothly. The blood sea then became streams or ribbons extending toward Wright, Cook, and Jeremy. The three of them felt like they were sinking in a muddy puddle, and the blood streams had restrained them, which even made their soul altars sluggish. They couldn't use many of their supernatural abilities. While they hadn't recognized it, Shi Yan's blood soul sea had affected their souls. Thunder cracks the sky. Wright roared savagely. The lightning serpents flew out of his hands, screaming and attacking the blood sea. They wanted to break it apart. Cook and Jeremy urged their god power. The flame and the ice mountain grew in their incipient extent as they joined Wright with the attempt of crushing Shi Yan's bloody world and killing him. Too bad for them. Shi Yan was performing his best powers, and he had taken in the energy from many dead warriors. He was in his best condition now, and the power he could use surpassed Wright and the other two by far. The blood soul sea was like a bloody malignant tumor wiggling. After it had covered the three experts, its energy continued to increase. The negative energy rose unceasingly. It was so terrifying as it could directly adhere to their soul altars. Space enlarges greatly. Shi Yan bellowed in the blood sea. The blood sea then exploded like shattered glass and turned into countless brilliant blood-light dots. Wright and the other two were shrouded by the blood sea. Their bodies exploded, and their bones cracked. Inside the blood sea, Shi Yan grinned. He seemed to have so many clones staying in different pieces of blood crystals. It looked like there were so many different mirrors by Cook, Wright, and Jeremy that Shi Yan could move freely between them. It was a marvelous ability of space power Upanishad. It was the space reflection that he had learned in the fantasy zone. Many Shi Yan changed their locations and swarmed towards Wright like a cloud of locusts. Those illusions had life energy fluctuations, so they weren't just illusions. Their energy fluctuations were created by dead, despair, resentment, fear, and brutal emotions that could erode the soul and seep into the three's bodies. Wright was wounded, staying between the shattered pieces of blood. His face was inexplicably baffled. This expression of his was the last image of him in this world. The three of them could never move again. Their soul altars fell, so they couldn't control their bodies anymore. Shi Yan's illusions created by negative energy faded and disappeared into the three of them. Quickly, their sturdy bodies withered at a speed that naked eyes could see, as if someone was using a pump to take out their blood, flesh, and energy. Eventually, they had no beam of life energy. After a blow of the wind, they scattered like dust and completely vanished. Their soul altars disappeared altogether. Right after that, many Shi Yans that disappeared now reappeared and congregated, fusing with each other. Eventually, there was only one left. This Shi Yan squinted and licked his red lips like a beast had just feasted sufficiently and grinned in satisfaction. He knew that the result of this battle would determine the general picture of Thunder Firmament Star area, and as for Shi Yan, he would break through to second sky of incipient God realm. He had achieved one more step and shortened the distance from the immortal realm. Lei Dong's group was still chasing after the running God Clan warriors. After one of them was killed, the essence chi from them became a beam of bloodlight that joined Shi Yan's body and increased his power. Until this moment, Shi Yan had slowly understood deep knowledge and marvelous abilities of the devouring power Upanishad. Chapter 1300 Gambling. Chapter 1300 Gambling _ The stars were twinkling in a starlight band in south of ancient God Star area. There was one bright star among of them that was the exclusive life star of the Bradley family. Many mountains were surrounding a mysterious valley. One of those mountains had gold balls that were like twinkling stars hung on the flank. The flames of life were dancing inside those balls. Those balls were called life beads, which connected to the souls and the lives of the Bradley family's important experts. Wherever they were, if they died, their own life bead would extinguish. Each of the balls here had a small name tag that read the name of its owner. The flames inside the 3 life beads flickered and then extinguished. An old man with layers of dust on his body was a watchman of this place. He became frightened, flashed, and then disappeared. He reappeared in a secret chamber where only one quiet man sat. This man was the current chief of the Bradley, Byers. Byers was disturbed when he was cultivating to break the current realm and enter the immortal realm. "What happened?" asked Byers in a low-pitched voice. "Wright's, Cook's, and Jeremy's life beads are off. I'm afraid something bad has happened in Thunder, Firmament Star area," the old man stooped and answered. Byers' visage changed. A gleam of pain flashed in his eyes. He kept silent for a long time. "Wright is my cousin. He didn't want to go to Thunder, Firmament Star area that year because he knew that it was a poor place. If I hadn't forced him to go there, he wouldn't have been persistent." "Chief, please restrain your grief," the old man sighed slightly. "They wouldn't die in vain." Byers took a deep breath. His face turned malignant as he swung his arm. "Report to the Elder Committee." "I'm on it." Shortly after, the God Clan's Elder Committee received the news of Wright's, Cook's, and Jeremy's deaths. They knew that they'd lost Thunder Firmament Star Area 2. It was no longer the God Clan's territory. The God Clan's forces, based around there, were frightened. The Heavenly King Carefree and Light also knew the news. On the God Zenith, Carefree wore a mocking face. He put the glass of wine on the jade table as he said, "Well, if you had listened to me and joined hands to tear the barrier of Thunder Firmament Star area, they would have been all right." Earlier, Carefree had asked Heavenly King Light to join him to break the seal that DeCarlos had put on Thunder Firmament Star area, but Light had denied him. At that time, Heavenly King Light was confident that Wright, Cook, and Jeremy could keep Thunder Firmament Star area safe. They wouldn't let Shi Yan take any advantage. But now he regretted it. Wright and the other 2 at Second Sky of Incipient God Realm were from the elite force of the Bradley family. They had lost 3 of them at the same time. Light felt a bad twinge in his chest. He wore a dark face and finished his bottle within one breath. He stood up and said, "You and I will take action now." Carefree chuckled. "When you and I join hands, I think we just need half a month to break the barrier between the star areas. As DeCarlos has built that barrier, he will be hurt when we break it." Carefree became sinister. If DeCarlos hadn't interfered, he would have killed Shi Yan already and taken 3 pieces of Bloodthirsty's remains. He wouldn't have lost Ouyang Luo Shuang, and they wouldn't have had to bear so many troubles as they did right now. He now considered DeCarlos his enemy. Carefree had never had mercy for his enemies. DeCarlos has chosen the opposite side as us. It'll be his worst misfortune. I will make him pay for the 3 lives of my family's later generation, said Heavenly King Light. Thunder Firmament Star area. The dried corpses of the God Clan warriors scattered around the heavenly lake. The beautiful and luxurious palaces were now in ruins. Blood puddled everywhere. Lei Dong, Ji Feng, and Harmon were moving swiftly like shadows through the place to kill the last members of the God Clan in this area. As they had only ethereal God realm and original God realm, they didn't have the chance to escape under the attack of the three incipient God realm experts. Also, Thunder Firmament Star area was sealed, so all the teleport formations were deactivated. The God warriors here couldn't escape their fatal fates. They recognized that times had changed. After 10,000 years, the overlord position of the God clan was now challenged. After killing the last God warrior, Lei Dong took out a sound stone and licked his lips. Tell the others that bloodthirsty forces Master killed right. All the God clan warriors in Thunder Firmament Lake were killed. From now on, the remaining warriors of the God clan in Thunder Firmament Star area are our targets. We will all go out to kill them. At the same time, Ji Feng and Harmon also took out the sound stone and sent the news. Lei Dong, Ji Feng, and Harmon were the leaders of the three strongest forces of Thunder Firmament Star area. They had many dedicated and loyal subordinates. When the news spread out, the entire Thunder Firmament Star area became boiling. Instantaneously, all the warriors of Thunder Firmament Star area knew the commotion in the heavenly lake. They knew that the fate of Thunder Firmament Star area changed now. Many warriors of the God clan staying in the corner of the star area became prey. Even though they were the hunters a moment ago, they became the targets of the warriors in the entire star area. The God annihilation operation was carried out grumblingly in Thunder Firmament Star area. Every day, every minute, the God clan warriors were killed continuously. After they proactively sent the news, Lei Dong's soul consciousness checked around the area. He found many women with exposed clothes hiding in the corner and looking at the three of them in fright. Lei Dong looked at the beautiful women from different races that Wright had captured for years. He sighed and then talked to Ji Feng. Release them. They are from our star area. Pour them. Ji Feng nodded. Lei Dong flashed and then appeared by the heavenly lake. He looked at Shi Yan and became baffled. Shi Yan was hovering inside a blood mist. The pungent smell of blood swirled by him while his body emitted strange, crimson light. The energy fluctuations from his body were turbulent and violent like water breaking a dam. However, he looked so calm as his soul altar was operating in a unique principle. It looked like he had become one with the sea of stars. Lei Dong turned to look at him, and he felt like he was beholding the mysterious, immense universe. He suddenly had strange respect. He was shocked, but he understood it immediately. Confine the area. Allow no one to enter. The Master is about to break through. We can't let anyone disturb him. Hearing him, Ji Feng and Herman were frightened. Ji Feng hurried to talk to those women in ragged clothes. Then he and Harmon gathered with Lei Dong by Shi Yan, arranging their barriers to protect Shi Yan. They were scared that Shi Yan could fail his breakthrough if someone disturbed him. As they'd reached the incipient God realm, they knew that every breakthrough in this realm was so dangerous. One mistake could lead to eternal damnation. Lei Dong was at second sky of incipient God realm. When he had broken to the second sky, he had almost perished. Thus, he understood this critical moment better than Ji Feng and Harmon. They surrounded Shi Yan and gathered their powers to create different barriers like clouds, the flowers, and lightning net to defend. Each of them was created with powerful, pure energy. We should guard here and wait until he has broken through successfully, said Lei Dong. Ji Feng and Harmon nodded in agreement. Deep inside the brilliant space basin, Dekalars was floating. The magical, dazzling light shot out of his palms and created marvelous, complex formations moving around the space slits that overflowed towards Thunder Firmament Star area. It required a constant supply of energy to maintain the seal in the entire star area. Although he had a profound realm, De Carlos couldn't confine the entire star area in one attempt. Thus, during this time, he had to stay in the space slit and increase the energy of the seal in Thunder Firmament Star area. All of a sudden, De Carlos shivered. Billions of light beams projected from his pupils that looked like images from different spaces. He frowned and sighed. Carefree and light have joined hands. I'm afraid that I can't maintain this seal for a long time. I can do it for half a month. I wonder if it will be enough. His line of sight crossed through many layers of spaces to watch Shi Yan. He couldn't help but give a forced smile. At this moment, Shi Yan was at the door to break through to second sky of incipient God realm. Even if he wanted to send him a message, it was impossible. He felt a little anxious, and he frowned. I can forcefully interfere, but I can seize only half a month. That kid is breaking into second sky of incipient God realm. I wonder if it's enough to revive him. De Carlos was so worried. He's the successor of that man. To ordinary warriors, it will take a long time to break through to second sky of incipient God realm. But it could be short to him, I suppose. I hope so. Master, Master. A voice called him and reverberated the message as if Shi Yan was in a dream. It was the voice of the ring spirit. After Ming had sealed it, it couldn't contact Shi Yan since the connection between them was cut off. However, as Shi Yan was breaking through, his mind was so quiet. No one knew how it could seize the chance and find the way to contact him feebly. Help me lift the seal. He lied to you. He wants to replace you to be my master and the new master of the bloodthirsty force. You can't believe his words. Master, I've been with you for so many years. You know I've never hurt you. You should know. The ring spirit's voice was interrupted as if it was so tough to send its thoughts to Shi Yan. Anyway, it had chosen the opportunity when Shi Yan was breaking through. While breaking through to the new realm, the warrior shouldn't be disturbed because it could lead to terrible consequences. In the worst case, the warrior's soul could perish. As the ring spirit had seized this chance to talk to Shi Yan, if it wasn't reluctant, it sure had some evil thoughts. The ring spirit's call seemed to have an evil power that lingered in Shi Yan's brain and became louder and louder. Shi Yan's mind became troubled. Shi Yan closed his eyes and his breathing got harder. The circulation of his god power was stagnant in many spots inside his body. Lei Dong, Ji Feng, and Harmon changed their faces. They suddenly knew that something was wrong. Their face became stern and heavy. Shi Yan's reaction clearly showed that he deviated while breaking through. It seemed like he was going to fall into bedevilment soon. This wasn't good at all. Chapter 1301 Self-Freezing. Chapter 1301 Self-Freezing _ The ring spirit's voice echoed in Shi Yan's brain like big stones that fell into a tranquil lake and raised ripples and big waves. It was a critical time to break through, but the ring spirit's call had distracted Shi Yan. He couldn't focus on breaking through the bottleneck of his realm. Ji Feng, Lei Dong, and Herman looked at Shi Yan, their faces grave. However, they didn't know how to deal with it. What should we do now? Ji Feng sounded worried. He got distracted, but it's in his mind. We can't help him. Otherwise, it will become worse. What should we do? If he dies in our Thunder Firmament Star area, the bloodthirsty force's flame of rage will burn us down. I'm afraid we won't live better than when the God clan ruled us. Herman forced a smile. He had thought further and deeper. Shi Yan was the new master of the bloodthirsty force and the brightest star in the vast sea of stars. He was the icon of the forces against the God clan. If he died in Thunder Firmament Star area, the warriors of Thunder Firmament Star area would be drowned in the rage of Xian He, Ming Hao, and Frederick. Thunder Firmament Star area couldn't bear any shockwave. Lei Dong, Ji Feng, and Harmon had given up everything to come here to find hope for Thunder Firmament Star area. They will never want to see desperation falling on Thunder Firmament Star area because of their impulsive acts. Calm down. Lei Dong looked at Ji Feng and Herman and shouted, He's the new master of the bloodthirsty force and the successor of that legendary warrior. If he dies because of bedevilment while breaking through to the new realm, I think he will never take the risk to break through here. Listening to him, Ji Feng and Herman were touched. They thought that it was logical, so they could relax their minds a bit. Right? If Shi Yan wasn't so sure, why would he break through right after he had just killed Wright's team? He didn't even notice them before he did that, though. If he wasn't so sure, how could he act impetuously like that? After considering that point, Ji Feng and Herman took a deep breath to tranquilize their minds. They continued to observe and protect Shi Yan. They didn't know that Shi Yan was standing in the ring spirit's sea of consciousness while letting his god power ancient tree transform. They didn't know that Shi Yan couldn't estimate the ring spirit and break Ming Hao's seal to bother him at a critical time. He could hear the ring spirit calling clearly, but he tried his best not to mind it. He knew that if the ring spirit came with a good will, it would never disturb him in such a moment. The ring spirit was like what Ming Hao had said. It had different thoughts. Shi Yan was sure that the ring spirit wanted to seize this opportunity to possess his soul and his body. If Shi Yan was the ring spirit, he would choose this moment to take action too, because there would be no chance better than now. While breaking through, the warrior had to concentrate wholeheartedly. A little distraction could result in a big change of the soul or even the soul fracture. Although Lei Dong, Ji Feng, and Herman were standing by him, they couldn't help him. They didn't know about the existence of the ring spirit, so they thought that the strange condition of his body was because of his breakthrough. In their eyes, Shi Yan's problems could only be solved by Shi Yan himself. Master, help me break this seal. I will treat you wholeheartedly. I will help you kill him. The ring spirit screamed unceasingly and tried to guide his soul. Its voice ran directly into his mind and made him doubtful. If he was distracted, which would affect his body's transformation, he would be backfired by his own power. His body would explode, tragically. Shi Yan panted, his body convulsed, and the god power in his body was stimulated. He was at a critical moment. At this moment, the ring spirit became more urgent and restless, as if it had just seen hope. Self-freezing. At the critical moment, Shi Yan's host soul sent a message through the space barriers to Grace mainland. The crystal burying deep inside Grace mainland suddenly radiated beautifully. A cold flame flew out and flickered. Many glaciers on Grace mainland melted down instantly as if their cold energy was all drawn. The cold flame had crossed spaces and emerged in Shi Yan's brains. The cold that was chilly to the bone expanded massively. Crack! Crack! Instantly, Shi Yan's body was confined in a thick layer of ice. The cold, white mist diffused from him. Thunder Firmament Lake was directly affected. As the white mist expanded, the thick ice appeared at a speed that naked eyes could observe. After less than 1 minute, the entire Thunder Firmament Lake and the area around the palace had become a white world of bitter snow and ice. Lei Dong, Ji Feng, and Herman became three ice sculptures. Their bodies were confined. Fear also froze on their faces. As they couldn't move, they could only use their souls to communicate. Too powerful. I'm afraid that only third sky of incipient God realm experts cultivating ice power Upanishad could release this kind of cold air current, said Ji Feng. He doesn't cultivate the cold power, right? What's going on? Screamed Herman. This extremely cold energy comes from the heaven flame. He has fused with the origin, so he's the master of the ancient continent. This kind of cold energy comes from deep inside the ancient continent. As long as we don't wiggle and our soul altars aren't frozen, it will be okay. Just stay here and watch the change. This cold energy isn't aimed at us. That's why we still can endure it, explained Lei Dong. Then who is it aimed at? Ji Feng was surprised. At him, said Lei Dong. But why? Ji Feng and Harmon screamed. I don't know. I only know that he got in trouble while breaking through. But I don't know what kind of trouble it is. I think he can deal with it himself. What we should do is to stay and watch. We shouldn't disturb him, said Lei Dong. Ji Feng and Herman were bewildered. However, they knew that Lei Dong had a wide knowledge, so they chose to believe him. They didn't release energy to break the ice layer covering them. They stood like that and waited in silence. While being imprisoned inside a thick chunk of ice like the ice mountain, Shuryan's body, blood, soul, and sea of consciousness had quieted down. The ring with complicated blood drawings was also frozen. Since the cold energy had seeped into the ring and attacked it, the ring spirit couldn't send any message to Shuryan. It was also because Shuryan's soul and sea of consciousness were frozen. Time ticked by fast. After an unknown time, Shuryan was completely still. Ji Feng, Herman, and Lei Dong gradually couldn't endure it anymore. The cold energy had begun to expand to their souls. They had to use the energy from the soul altar to break the ice on their bodies and free themselves. 3 days, Ji Feng frowned. He doesn't have any commotion. His soul stops working, and his aura couldn't be found. What do we do? Keep watching. Don't act rashly, answered Lei Dong. Ji Feng and Herman exchanged reluctant looks. They continued to wait there and look at Shuryan standing still like a 10,000-year ice mountain. In the dark sea of stars, the stars twinkled and sent starlight to illuminate the frozen thunder firmament lake. The starlight from deep in the universe was like the light of fireflies that flashed and got into the ice mountain. It was as if some force that was guiding it slowly toward Shuryan. This entire world had become a massive glacier. The lake and Shuryan were frozen, and it made a massive frozen area. The starlight moved very slowly inside the ice. The first dot of starlight had to move through a long distance to reach Shuryan's frozen body. Just like a small spark that ignited the fire, starlight bloomed out of the acupuncture points in his entire body like dazzling diamonds. At that moment, countless starlight dots in the lake rolled into streams and flowed toward Shuryan and disappeared into his body. At the same time, Ji Feng, Herman, and Lei Dong got rid of the ice. Seeing this wonder, they were so thrilled. Thunder Firmament Lake is made of some mysterious heavenly rivers in outer space. This lake has the lightning and thunder power together with the star power, and that kind of power is rolling towards Shuryan. Lei Dong opened his eyes, his face frightened. He got some trouble, but I think he has figured out how to solve it. He exhaled in relief. Ji Feng and Herman were also happy upon watching so many starlight streams reaching Shuryan and increasing his power. They closed their eyes to sense for a while. They had to nod in surprise that Shuryan's soul was stable now. It meant that he had crossed the most dangerous phase. They knew now he needed time to compress his god power and clean the soul altar to sublimate his soul. The toughest moment was over. It was going to be pretty smooth for Shuryan, and when he woke up, he was going to have reached second sky of incipient god realm. I know he will be all right, Lei Dong smiled, then said, we can relax now before checking if our subordinates have finished all the members of the god clan here or not. They then took out the sound stone to contact their subordinates, their visages satisfied. The corner of the star area where mineral stars were connected. The members of the Chun family gathered, frowning and waiting. Why hasn't he come yet? Did he fool us? Chen Rong frowned and whispered. While talking, he looked fearful as he checked the beautiful figure in white standing far from him. Ouyang Luo Shuang's beautiful but cold eyes glared at them, and she slightly knitting her eyebrows. No, he will definitely come. He needs something here, said Chen Lei. The Chen family lived in a remote area in Thunder Firmament Star area where they were kept away from connecting to the other forces. At this moment, they hadn't known anything about the big commotions of Thunder Firmament Star area. Every day, they had to live in fear and wait anxiously to see if the God Clan will take revenge on them or not. The God Clan had scared them badly that now they had to live and wait in fear. We've bet everything. I hope we can win to keep the family going on. Chun Rong forced a smile and sighed weakly. Don't worry. Our Chun family won't be obliterated. We will live well. I believe in him. He will definitely give us a new future. Chun Lei comforted him. All the members of the Chun family had gathered and waited for the man who would bring them hope. Chapter 1302, A New Life. Chapter 1302, A New Life, _ Crack, crack. The thick ice in the heavenly lake cracked. Waves of fierce energy expanded from Shi Yan and exploded even the void. Billions of beams of light bloomed in the universe. At this moment, Shi Yan became a volcano that had just erupted after years of sleeping. That kind of energy fluctuation was fierce and abundant, and it made Lei Dong, Jifeng, and Harmon change their visages. Instinctively, they backed off and made some distance from them. Absolutely. This isn't the power that a second sky of incipient God realm expert could have. Moreover, he has just broken to the new realm. Ji Feng's face twitched as he had a sour countenance. He's worthy of his title of the new master of the bloodthirsty force. The power he now shows can compare to third sky of incipient God realm experts who have been in that realm for a long time. So scary. If he was like the warriors of the same dream, how could he kill, right? Lei Dong smiled. When they were talking, the glacier over there exploded altogether with the space. However, after one piece of the space there exploded, it immediately recovered as if there was a hand smoothing them immediately. They didn't know that Shi Yan's commotion when he was breaking through had also cracked a corner of DeCarlo seal and made him spend a huge amount of energy to fix it. He also cursed Shi Yan under his breath for his vandalism. Boom! Shi Yan walked out of the pile of broken ice and appeared directly in front of Lei Dong. He grinned. You did it well. If Lei Dong hadn't been calm enough to stop Ji Feng and Harmon from acting rashly, Shi Yan would have had more trouble. The ring spirit wasn't someone Shi Yan could underestimate. If Ji Feng and Harmon had used their soul consciousness to check, their souls would have been unguarded and the ring spirit could have possessed them quickly. It then could have used their bodies to attack Shi Yan and stop him from finishing his breakthrough. It could have even broken his soul altar. Lei Dong's calm state made Ji Feng and Harmon stand and watch, letting him handle everything. He had successfully drawn the energy of the origin through his co-soul to freeze and seal himself. Then his co-soul had guided the star energy to draw more energy from the sea of stars and used the devouring power Upanishad to gather the starlight that had successfully transformed his god power ancient tree. Shi Yan's soul consciousness checked his internal conditions, and he was so happy to see the god power ancient tree had become shiny with magnificent light sparkling from the branches and leaves. That light came out from his lower abdomen and connected with his veins to create a complete circuit. Today, the god power ancient tree in his body had grown twice, and its branches had connected to his veins. When his thoughts changed, the god power surged massively and directly poured into his veins, merging with his blood and flesh. This kind of rising energy was almost tyrannical to him. The amount of his accumulated energy was much more than what the warriors at first sky of incipient god realm had. The energy he took from Right and the other two had provided him with a lot of god power. The warriors at second sky of incipient god realm had their god power ancient tree connect with their veins direction. It allowed the god power to flood the veins instantly. This had doubled the attack speed. Touching his glabella, the radiant incipient extent arose in the middle of the sky. The stars in his incipient extent were like massive, dazzling diamonds. As soon as his thoughts changed, Green trees and grass grew and bloomed with the mountains, rivers, and lakes. He could even create earthquakes and shift among the four seasons. His incipient extent had become closer to reality. The three power Upanishads in his soul altar had been blending with each other magically and harmoniously. As his realm increased, his three power Upanishads could change soon and make his incipient extent more real. This feeling was so clear. After reaching second sky of incipient God realm, he seemed to have found the right direction, the direction to reach the higher realm. The incipient extent was the key to doing that. Shi Yan understood it well. He vaguely knew that the incipient extent and the soul altar were related to breaking to the immortal realm. Sir. Lei Dong, Ji Feng, and Harmon bent their bodies slightly, their faces respectful. This kind of respect came deep from their souls. Until now, is there any god warrior remaining in Thunder Firmament Star area? Asked Shi Yan. According to our subordinates' news, we found no living god clan warrior. This star area is clear for now, Lei Dong answered respectfully. Shi Yan nodded. Pondering for a while, he said, Thunder Firmament Star area is temporarily sealed. The god clan can't cross the barrier to come here. Don't worry for the time being. I'm the god clan's target. They won't send the top experts. Don't you worry. I'll arrange it. My men will come after I leave to help you rebel against the god clan. He knew that Ming Hao, Xian He, and Frederick would never gift Thunder Firmament Star area to the god clan. Once he could contact Ming Hao, the experts of the bloodthirsty force would come here. The subordinates he saw in the bloodthirsty forces, Holy Land, weren't all of them. They were the key members, and many of them had their own forces or organization. In addition, they had the mysterious forces that Ming Hao had controlled in the dark. Shi Yan believed that the real forces of the bloodthirsty force wouldn't be weaker than the god clan by much. Counting the other independent forces like Heavenly Monster Tribe, the Immortal Demon Clan, the Thousand Fantasy Sect, the Broken Hall, and the Heaven River Temple, the bloodthirsty force wasn't in a bad situation in this war. Thank you, Master. We will go all out to counterattack the god clan. Lei Dong sounded excited and determined. Sure, Yan looked at him deeply in the eyes. You just remember it. Sir, is there anything you need us to do? We won't deny it. Ji Feng smiled, intervening. No need for now. If I need anything, I'll contact you. Shi Yan placed a finger on his mouth, looking at the void around and frowning. When he escaped the ice, the void had shattered altogether because of his breakthrough. However, all the cracks were closed shortly after. Shi Yan knew that the expert was still here, and he had used the incredibly supernatural power to mend the world here and continue to seal this star area. Precursor, are you still here? Shi Yan released his soul consciousness after thinking and sent it to the space crack. His wisps of soul consciousness had moved, but Shi Yan assumed that he wouldn't receive any reply. Thus he decided to go. Suddenly, a wisp of soul consciousness came to him from a far void. You have around 25 days. After that, the seal in this star area will be deactivated. Heavenly King Light and Heavenly King Carefree will come. If you can't resurrect the immemorial Thunder Dragon, you will have to face them alone then. Ming Hao, Xian He, and Frederick have declared war with the God Clan. The Great Star Area War has ignited. They won't be free to come here and find you. You should pray for yourself. Who are you? Shi Yan shook. A starlight beam flashed in his eyes and stretched towards that direction to scout. Ming Hao asked me to take care of you for a while. And as for who I am, you will know after you revive my old friend. The soul consciousness came to him and disappeared suddenly. Shi Yan found that his soul consciousness couldn't get into that space crack anymore. He knew that the other had closed it to prevent him from entering the space crack. As they both cultivated space power, Shi Yan knew that the other's realm was much more profound. Such a character was truly the top expert of the Sea of Stars. He could move freely between star areas. In this sort of expert's point of view, there was no distance worth their consideration in this world. After thought, they could even cross the entire star area. Sir, sir. Ji Feng called Shi Yan as he saw the person immerse into his thoughts, frowning and changing his countenances continuously. Shi Yan was awakened. He turned to the other three and said, "You guys should check the forces in Thunder Firmament Star area and prepare for a war in the future." He rose one hand and pulled. A door appeared. After one step, he disappeared right in front of Harmon, Ji Feng, and Lei Dong. Then he appeared by the peripheral area of Thunder Firmament Star area and landed on the mineral star. Chunrong, Chunlei, and many members of the Qin family had their eyes brighten. They came close and looked at her with hope. Ouyang Luoshuang was still cold. Her bright eyes looked at him, but she said nothing. "Sir." Chun Lei called him, her face frightened. She seemed to be afraid of Shi Yan. "What?" Shi Yan asked indifferently. "You've agreed with us that you'll arrange a new place for our Qin family. I wonder." Chun Lei chose her words carefully. "Sir, as long as our Qin family stays here, right will come for us. They will obliterate our family. Sir, please help us and give us a beam of hope." Chunrong bowed to him, looking at him and begging. To Chunrong and the Chun family, right was a ruthless, massive mountain that they couldn't cross. As long as right was still in Thunder Firmament Star area, they couldn't ease their minds. They would be scared every day. Right. Sure, Yan pouted his lips and looked at them oddly. "You Qin family don't communicate with the world out there." We live in an isolated area. We've been living alone for many years. Yeah, it's true that we rarely contact the people out there, Chunrong answered honestly. Right is dead. There's no God clan warrior in Thunder Firmament Star area now. If you don't believe me, you can call someone out there to check, Shi Yan frowned and said. Today there is no God clan warrior in Thunder Firmament Star area, your homeland. If you still want to leave, I will take you. Make up your mind. Listening to him, the Chun family members were baffled. Then they burst out screaming and cheering. Sure, Yan didn't mind their decision. He turned to Ouyang Luoshuang. If you want to go back to Grace Mainland, I can take you there now. What do you think? I want to see what you want to do, Ouyang Luoshuang replied faintly. Shi Yan nodded and walked into a dark mine. He disappeared. Ouyang Luoshuang didn't hesitate and followed them. She also disappeared into the mine. Chunrong closed his eyes and held a sound stone in his hand. He carefully contacted someone and asked, Dino, I'm Chunrong. Yeah, we haven't contacted for around 100 years. How's it going in your place? Are you the chief of the Qin family? You're still alive. Yeah, we haven't talked for 100 years. It's really good here. Very good indeed. The God clan warriors are all dead now. We're going to rebuild our homes. How about you guys? Are you going to build your new life? The friendly and good-willing laughter came from the soundstone, which was the joy of relief. All the members of the Chun family looked at the soundstone and listened to the voice that came out from the device. Then people bustlingly smiled and hugged each other. Tears rolled down their cheeks as they were celebrating new lives to come. It was their new life, the new life of Thunder Firmament League, and the new life of an entire star area. Chapter 1303, Candid Counterpart. Chapter 1303, Candid Counterpart. The peripheral area of Thunder Firmament Star area. The warriors of the Qin family were gathering by the mine with stacked oars, cheering and yelling excitedly. The mines in this area created by many mineral stars were connected to each other. Previously, they often released fierce lightning strikes that the Chun family didn't dare to come close to. In the past 1,000 years, they finally had the guts to come and check when the mines no longer projected lightning bolts. And then they found a precious wind thunderstone in those mines. The wind thunderstone had helped the Qin family and the poor here become rich. The Chun family warriors had a positive source to cultivate. What's in there that attracted him? Qin Rong looked at the mine and knitted his brows. I don't know. According to our family's records, it should be something marvelous. Qin Lei relaxed and smiled. I think we don't need to abandon our homeland. Qin Rong nodded and then ordered the others. We will stay here for the time being. After that master gets out, we will see what we should do. While the Chun family members were talking to each other, Shi Yan had entered deep into the mineral star and followed a spacious passage to the core of the planet. Ouyang Luo Shuang wore pure white clothes. She looked like a cold and elegant spirit, even though her makings were still cold and stern. Her clear eyes sometimes checked Shi Yan as if she had something in her mind. Many pieces of rock had wind howling and thunder grumbling along the passage. It was so incredible. Shortly after, Shi Yan paused, his face surprised. What happened? Ouyang Luo Shuang looked at the area ahead of them, furrowing her bold brows and asking, We're almost there. Squinting, Shi Yan rose one arm and pointed forward. That area was deep inside the mineral star with many caves and pieces of stone on the ground, including many chunks of wind thunderstone. The thunder and wind howling they heard came from those stones. The wind thunderstone stored the power of the wind and thunder and lightning. However, the small pieces weren't really valuable. As those pieces of stones weren't bigger than a fingernail, they weren't taken away. This place was the deepest area of this mine. If they wanted to go further, they had to dig up the way themselves. Shi Yan used his soul consciousness to check. He found no powerful life energy fluctuation or any kind of fierce energy around. However, he believed that the immemorial thunder dragon's body lay in there. As he got nothing from his senses, it meant that it was because of some barrier or restriction. He hadn't reached the area covered by the barriers and restrictions yet. Crack! Shi Yan placed his hand on the rock wall. The white, sharp light shot out from his fingertips. It was a space blade that could break anything. He thrust it into the rock wall. The hard rock was like metal, but it exploded easily like sand when the space blade stabbed into it. A new passage was created quickly, and it led deeper into the mine. The space blade moved further and made the passage more in-depth. Shi Yan retracted his hand and entered the new passage. His face darkened when he observed the surroundings. The divine light shot out from his eyes. Shortly after, he halted. At that moment, the arm-sized lightning beams, like a long snake, shot out from the stone passage. More than millions of flashes with deadly, scorching lightning bolts swarmed toward them. Boom! 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 The dazzling white lightning covered Shi Yan and Ouyang Luo Shuang instantly. They felt so itchy that it could crack them crazy. Their bodies shook hard. Within several breaths, the white lightning had burned their clothes into ashes. The beams of white lightning whipped on Shi Yan's and Ouyang Luo Shuang's naked bodies and got through their skin to attack them. Those white lightning beams were cunning. They moved and wormed inside their veins, giving them sour pain that they couldn't resist. At this moment, Ouyang Luo Shuang's magnificent snow-white body was revealed utterly. She looked like a perfect, white, jade statue of a goddess. She looked flawless indeed. Her tender waist was so small, while her thighs were slim and straight. Her breasts perked like a pair of snowy mountains. The beautiful curves of her neck were so obvious, too. At the glimpse of the lightning attack, Shi Yan was so afraid that Ouyang Luo Shuang couldn't resist such an attack. He couldn't help but turn around to check her. He was bewildered, but his eyes were so hot. He gazed at Ouyang Luo Shuang's flawless body. He then went absent-minded, as he had totally forgotten why he turned around to check her. He just beheld her body like that. Under his hot gaze, the naked woman was so embarrassed. She glared at her and scolded, "Bastard!" Shi smiled and said, "Oh, you can still curse. Those lightning strikes can't threaten you. I can ease my mind now." Even though he said so, his eyes were still lingering on that mesmerizing white body. Apparently, he didn't want to look away. He instinctively compared her body with the other women he used to have romantic times with. Then he figured out that only Xia Exanyang could compare to her. He complimented inwardly and took in her figure for a while more. It's not that I want to peep on you. It's the right time and right place, right? You saw mine too. No offense." Just like Ouyang Luo Shuang, Shi was naked. His body had clear, lean muscles that showed his beautiful masculine features pretty clearly. Despicable. Ouyang Luo Shuang glanced at him. Then she had to look away immediately, and she cursed again. Her heart suddenly beat frantically. It was the first time she saw a naked man. Shi grinned evilly. "It's a candid counterpart. We're naked like newborn babies. This is how we used to be. The clothes that cover the body is a restriction of the mortal morality and etiquette. It's like we shackle ourselves. Actually, I think it's good to stay naked like this. Ha!" Laughing loudly, he walked forward. The white, deadly lightning bolts that bombarded his body couldn't affect him much. Ouyang Luo Shuang gritted her teeth, her clear eyes indignant. However, she now had a vibe in her heart that she couldn't explain. She looked at the passage Shi was walking and was hesitant. She discreetly checked her naked body and then made up her mind. She pretended to be cool and calm, following him with her naked body. Ouyang Luo Shuang used her cold moonlight to protect her body from more lightning beams. Her entire body was snow white like a moon spirit gliding on the passage. Boom! 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 Suddenly, more thunder echoes came from the section ahead of them. The rumbling thunder was like a club pounding on their chests and sea of consciousness. Ouyang Luo Shuang's body shook. Her ample breasts bounced. She couldn't help but scream in agony, her face pale. She stooped to look at the ground under her feet. Under her feet, the ground looked swollen as if it had pus inside. The thunder came whenever the ground throbbed. The grumbling thunder was specifically aimed at the soul and the sea of consciousness. She stopped moving and urged her power Upanishad to increase her energy protecting her body. The cold moonlight beams emitted from her elegant body like a transparent silk cloak that shrouded her curves. However, the moonlight protection was pure and crystal clear. It couldn't hide her perfect body. Although she was still naked, she was now not afraid of the lightning and thunder attacking her heart anymore. She lifted her head to look and found that Shi disappeared from her sight. She tried to walk forward and found that after several steps, the power of the grumbling thunder increased. It meant that the deeper she went, the stronger the deadly lightning attack was. Her visage changed as she guessed that Shi level of power was higher than hers. Pondering for a while, she gritted her white teeth and gathered her god power. She then turned into a cold moonlight flow and shot forward. "It's here," Shi mumbled while touching the rock wall. That rock wall had a wonderful silver hue, as if it was consolidated from water with the dazzling light. Shi could see thick electric beams moving inside the rock. There were so many, and they were complicated like the Venus system in the human body. They were everywhere in the stone wall, and they were moving strangely. After Ouyang Luo Shuang arrived, she had to halt as her soft body was shocked hard. She had to hold her milky chest, her eyes showing her pain. The power of the deadly lightning here had surpassed her endurance. Her heart throbbed as if it was about to explode with the grumbling thunder. She had to spend more of her pure energy to protect her heart. Shi stopped muttering, and he turned his head to look at her. He watched the white fluid seep through the gaps between her fingers as he said, "You're impulsive. The lightning power here isn't something you can endure. You can't stand it for a long time." Ouyang Luo Shuang's cold and bright eyes just looked at him harshly. She wasn't free to answer. Her energy and spirit were used to resist the lightning here. She couldn't spend extra energy to talk. "I could never know what you women think." Sure, Yen shook his head and opened his mouth to spurt out of a star that carried his vitality. The star then fell on the beautiful breasts Ouyang Luo Shuang's hands were protecting. It covered her milky breasts like a chest plate. After the star covered her heart, the deadly lightning and thunder that were pressing Ouyang Luo Shuang disappeared into thin air. Feeling the warm energy from the star on her bosom, her heart that had just stabilized now throbbed strangely. However, it wasn't because of the lightning and thunder this time. Her beautiful eyes became so strange. Her cold face blushed. She stooped as if she was frightened to see Sure Yan's majestic, naked body. Sure, Yan didn't recognize her strange behavior. He became focused, and he touched the glabella. The soul altar spun fiercely. Countless fine space blades flew out of his incipient extent like magical carving knives in the hands of an excellent craftsman. They were used to clear this area. After the cracking sounds and the small pieces of stones flew out from the wall, they disappeared into the small space slits instantly. Sure, Yen was highly focused and careful. He had to ensure that the sharp blades would not touch the remains of the dragons while cutting off the rock layer. He felt lucky that he hadn't come to this area rashly and decided to recover his god power first. Killing Right's force, he had reached second sky of incipient god realm, and he could use the god power better to dig up the immemorial Thunder Dragon's remains. Sure Yen was sure that if he had taken action impulsively at that time, the layers of deadly lightning beams here would force him to back off, and he would never have been able to cut off the rock here skillfully to discover the dragon's remains. Stabilizing his mind and spirit and using the power Upanishad, Sure Yen had controlled the space blade subtly. Ouyang Luo Shuang clutched her chest and watched him silently. Her eyes were still filled with confusion, and she was still shivering. Chapter 1304 Human Nature. Chapter 1304 Human Nature _ Crack, crack. The massive mind created by several mineral stars could be compared to a small-sized life star, but its volume wasn't small, and its weight could be even heavier than a big life star. Explosions and shattering sounds became thicker. The members of the Qin family were frightened. Looking at the mine with earth-shaking commotions, they were guessing what was going in there. "Retreat! Retreat! All of you!" Chun Rong and Chun Lei shouted and asked the Chun family warriors to leave the mine. They discolored and instinctively moved away. While they were retreating, the commotion inside the mine became scarier. They could see many big rocks explode and shoot up into the sky before disappearing bizarrely. They were so frightened. However, when they looked at the mine created by several mineral stars, they found that it was shrinking. Looking carefully, they recognized that it wasn't the mine was shrinking. It was because many big rocks on the mine were disappearing. It was like a fat man had his fat drawn away rapidly, so he became lanky. Evidently, it was so strange. Everything was beyond their knowledge. They didn't know the reason, so they could only run away fast to not get involved. They were afraid that they would disappear mysteriously, like those rocks. Shortly after, the massive mine shrunk. Now, it was only 1/3 of its original size. They saw many fine space, slits drawing the rocks into them, and disappear. The warriors of the Chen family get 100 miles away. Sure Yan's voice arose with power that the others couldn't deny. Qin Rong was bewildered and hesitating. "Chief, I think there's a precious treasure. They're about to dig it up. That mine belongs to our Qin family. He asked us to leave to claim that treasure alone." a greedy old man of the Chun family, couldn't help but hiss. His eyes thirstily looked at the mine. Listening to him, more and more members of the Chun family had their hearts beat frantically. They became excited when they looked at the mine. It was human nature. When their lives were threatened, they wanted to live, so they only think about their lives. However, once they were sure that their lives are secure, an evil thought rose in their mind. Many warriors of the Chen family thought that the others were digging some treasure in their mine. They thought that treasure should belong to the Qin family. Chan Rong hesitated and debated on whether to leave or to stay and bargain with Shi Yan to have a share of the treasure. At least, he has to give us a bowl of soup, right? He thought instinctively. He knew right, and the entire God clan warriors here were killed, but he didn't know that Shi Yan did that. Shi Yan had only first sky of incipient God realm, and he had never told them his real position. Also, the Chun family didn't have a lot of communication with the world outside, so he guessed that someone else had killed right. Thus, he wasn't really afraid of Shi Yan. When his life wasn't threatened and he was greedy for treasure, such enticement made him not recognize his position. Retreat! Qinlei hissed. The scar on her cheek twisted. She looked worried and hurried. She knew the situation better than Qinrong, and her eyes were much sharper. She knew Shi Yan's intimidation. Listen to him, or else we will receive a deadly disaster. That treasure should belong to our Qin family. We should at least know what it is. We should at least have a share of it, right? The man who had triggered the crowd talked again. He looked at Qinlei with cold eyes. Do you like him? Don't ever think about it. With your appearance, it's impossible. Listening to him, Qinlei felt so cold. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. Uncle Hong, how dare you say that? Chun Hong was at second sky of ethereal God realm. He was an important warrior in the Chen family too. With a cold and stiff face, he said, "Isn't it true? If you don't like him, why are you protecting him? Why don't you think about our family's welfare? You brought him here, didn't you?" Many warriors of the Chen family were surprised. They then looked at Qinlei. Except for the warriors who had followed Qinlei for years, the mine slaves and the other warriors of the Qin family looked at her doubtfully, their faces dark. They doubted Qinlei that she had found the treasure when she had managed this mining area. They thought that Qinlei had used this massive treasure to pay for Shi Yan's service of killing the God clan warriors here. Qinlei looked at their countenances. She felt so down. Eventually, she looked at Qinrong. There are some people we can't ever offend. For our Chun family, I hope you will think more carefully. I know, Qinrong frowned at her. We will just watch from a far distance. We want to see what kind of treasure it is. I think we can try for something. It's good if we can get it. Qinrong's eyes sparkled. It should belong to our Qin family. Even if he's more overbearing, he should give us some soup, right? Chun Hong licked his lips. Qinlei was desperate. She wasn't a fool. She could see Qinrong's greed. As they weren't threatened from the God clan anymore, Qinrong wanted to show off his power. The big treasure, there was also a big chance to him. Whoever believes me, come with me now, she sighed and left with a desperate countenance. Many mine slaves and the guards under her commands followed her silently. Qinrong and the other members of the Chun family retreated a little and continued watching the mine. They didn't listen to Shi Yan's order to retreat 100 miles away. Chief! Chun Hong looked at the place with greed. When the great treasure appears, it will come with a great phenomenon. That man has just first sky of incipient God realm. It will take a lot of energy from him to activate the treasure. Should we? Shut up! Qinrong hissed. Chun Hong looked at him. He was moved, but he just nodded and said nothing. He got his calculation. Boom! 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 The mine still had earth-shaking commotions. Gradually, many clouds came from the faraway area, hovering above the mine. Lightning flashed and thunder echoed inside the clouds. Lightning bolts shot out of the mine and stirred up the entire area. In the flashes of lightning and the echoing thunder, a gigantic silver dragon skeleton arose. A thick layer of wind thunder stone covered this skeleton. They then fell off the dragon's body. Shi Yan and Ouyang Luo Shuang appeared in the dazzling light, so the others couldn't see them. They continuously changed their positions above the silver dragon skeleton, as if they were surveying something. It is, Chen Hong stammered as he was so shocked by the massive skeleton. That skeleton belongs to a level 13 beast. Oh gosh, the lightning and thunder energy from it is so earth-shaking. It's a real treasure, an incredible treasure, screamed a warrior of the Qin family. Sir, Chen Hong looked at Chen Rong, his eyes showing his greed. Chen Rong's heart beat frantically as his eyes were fixed on the immemorial Thunder Dragon's remains. Sir, we've been guarding this place for several thousand years. That mine belongs to our Qin family. Please consider our harsh living situation for many years and give us a bit of that skeleton. We will appreciate your good deeds a lot. Shi Yan was astounded in the light. He looked at Chen Rong from a far distance and frowned. I told you guys to retreat 100 miles away. Didn't you hear me? It's our Chen family's territory. Why can't we stay here to investigate from the beginning? Shouted Chen Hong. Shi Yan was so surprised. He looked at the man from a distance and talked oddly. Oh, it turns out you're greedy for treasures. How ridiculous. You're just a bunch of ants that had to struggle to survive. And now you're so greedy that you want to steal the elephant's food. Haha. As soon as he finished, a moonlight shot out from Ouyang Luo Shuang's light and fell on Chen Hong like a meteor. Immediately, Chen Hong shattered like glass powder. His body exploded so quickly that he could not even register that he was dying. Chen Rong was shocked. He was awakened quickly, and he screamed, "We will go now!" He had never thought that the others would be so cruel. He thought that he could bargain for something, because the others would have spent a lot of energy already, so it was a chance to see something. But he regretted it now. I'm going to clean this mess for you. Just focus on your work, Ouyang Luo Shuang said, and then flew away. Instantly, the moonlight beams shot out like a shower of arrows. The remaining Chen family warriors exploded shortly after. Shi Yan just felt that it was ridiculous. He didn't even bat an eye on the Qin family member as he said deliberately, "Then thank you. I don't need to distract my mind then." Then he continued to use his energy and cut off the rock on the immemorial Thunder Dragon's body to reveal it completely. We were so wrong. We know that we were wrong. We beg for your mercy. Chen Rong screamed as if he could even tear his intestines and begged. At this moment, he knew that he would never have sharp eyes like his sister Qinlei. He knew that he was so wrong this time. Unfortunately, Shi Yan didn't mind, and Ouyang Luo Shuang wasn't going to stop her slaughter. In her eyes, the Qin family's deed was so low. She had to kill all of those greedy, despicable warriors to clear her mind and purify her mood. Thus, Chen Rong's group had to die. In a pretty far area, Qinlei and a group of warriors in shabby clothes looked at them and the moonlighting shooting like arrows. Although she was so mournful, she said through her gritted teeth, "No one's allowed to get there." "Madame Lei," screamed a guard. "Please, I'm begging you. Please stay to hold on to the Qin family's bloodline. Don't go there to die." Qinlei clutched her chest. "It's they who seeks death. I told them those weren't warriors we could provoke. They didn't listen to me. Their fate was determined by their greed." Listening to her, the warriors on her side quieted down. They also knew that Chen Rong and Chen Hong weren't nice people before they were enslaved by the God Clan. Living under the God Clan subjugation, they had to turn more honest. However, as soon as the God Clan's threat was gone, their nature came back. They did the same things they used to do. However, The one they had encountered this time was even more brutal and heartless than the God clan. Thus, their dramatic fate was sealed. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.